Welcome to a Celtic State of Mind. This is our live Matchday coverage. I'm Paul John Dykes, and today I am joined by Lawrence Conley to my right. Welcome to the show, Lawrence, making your Celtic State of Mind debut. And we're also joined by Des and Paul Cole from JBM Scotland, who are our Matchday sponsors. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you. Tell us a wee bit about your business.
So we're JBM Scotland. We're based in Glasgow, electrical contractors, doing commercial, industrial and domestic fit-outs. Do some testing also, and some EV charging point installations. That's about it.
We've got all your details up there, Paul, on the screen. So we've got your web address and your contact information. So any Celtic fans or anyone else in the World Wide Web who is tuning in via Twitter, Facebook and YouTube who wants to get in touch with the guys, then all the contact information is there, JBM Scotland. And you are on the live punditry panel today. So, you know, there's plenty to discuss. We're back at Tannadice for the first time in 4 years. It's good to be back to Tannadice, isn't it, really?
Definitely. Yeah, it's always been a tough ground, hasn't it, for Celtic? A good away day, yeah.
A good away day. It's a club that I always thought were quite progressive. You know, when you think back, there was obviously the era of Jim McLean and the players that he produced and the quality and the standard that Dundee United always seemed to have. It was a tough game. You always looked at Tannadice and Pittodrie, didn't you, as two of the toughest away grounds. And then they've kind of fallen on hard times fairly recently. But they're back, and I'm glad they're back. I think they're a Premiership club. Lawrence, we're looking at an empty Tannadice. All right, now, you know, when you go up there, it's a great atmosphere at Tannadice. Some brilliant victories are springing to my mind. I'm thinking back to the dark old days of the 90s when we were going up there with Liam Brady and winning 4-3 and things like that. You know, what's your memories of Tannadice?
Oh, I think it's just a nice ground the way it's built. Also, remember. Is it Sam's nightclub, that white wall? Yeah.
We're talking about football and you're onto the nightclubs already.
It was a famous sponsor down the shed end, I think. So I always remember that kind of wall at the corner. It was a weird white brick wall. Yeah.
My first game at Tannadice was Mo Johnson when he joined, and I think he scored his first goal up there against Dundee United game that they won. I have to spit when I say that, by the way.
I know.
But I always thought it was interesting. Another story about Mo Johnson as well was years ago. It was a lead up to Christmas, and he had signed for Celtic, and I was in buying a present for my wife, and I had to get the car round. It was in Argyle Street, so I had to bring the car round from the car park at St Enoch, and so I had to run for this shop to go and get a car. So I got into the car park. And this guy comes up to me and says, "If you could change your £1, mate." So I had to change £1, and there was a guy with his back to me, and the guy says, "Mo, have you got £1?" So Mo Johnson turned round, brings out his wad of notes, pulls a £1 note off, gives me the £1, I give him the change, and I kept that £1 in my wallet for like a year or something like that, you know, and then I had to spend it. It was a sign of the times, but no, it was
I thought you were going to say then I threw it at him. A couple of years later when I saw his name keeps cropping up, Des. All the time on his podcast, his name keeps cropping up. It was incredible last week to find that Judas had been spray painted in Kieran Tierney's street after he left Celtic. How dare anyone use that word for Kieran Tierney? You know?
Absolutely.
But I mean, we're looking at the team. There's been a few changes, and I think all week we were talking about all the potential changes that might have happened. It was an excellent performance, and I know people talk about the quality of the side on Tuesday night, Paul, but it was an excellent performance, and they've done it with a wee bit of style. But there's been a few changes, so the team is lining up as Barkas, with the back four of Frimpong, Taylor, Julien and Beaton. Midfield, Brown, Encham, Kalmak, that'll be Cal McGregor, and Christie. We've got Mo El Yunusi on the left and Eddie up front. I mean, are you quite happy with that lineup?
Encham's back in. Do you think? Is either out of favour?
A couple of games now he's been on the bench, isn't it? Aye. Are they, I mean, see when I sometimes see that, I try and probably look for the hidden reasons for it, and I know that AC Milan have been sniffing about Ayer for about 27 million, which is the reported fee. Aye. Are they just saving him? Is it a possible situation where he might be on his way out?
I think it's 27 million. If they offer
What's your thoughts on Ayer?
If you get somebody in, we still need one in, regardless whether we get rid of Ayer or not.
No, you're right. We're short already.
We're short.
Yes. I mean, Beaton, he's a Neil Lennon favourite. Neil Lennon goes to Beaton, plays him midfield, centre half, and he's played in a lot of big games for Neil Lennon. He's not a fan's favourite, that's for sure. And I think in midfield, when you're playing fast attacking football, it slows down when it comes to him.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, he's quite dependable. He's quite dependable at the back. But I still don't class him as a centre half. We still need to bring in. Obviously, Shane Duffy, Lawrence is the name that's been mentioned most frequently. But we do need to bring in a centre half. So if we're looking at selling off Ayer, I'd be quite concerned because you would be then two.
Yeah.
You'd be too short at the back.
Get away with it in Scotland, I think, with Beaton, certainly, but start to get a better calibre opponent in Europe especially. That's when he gets found out.
I think if you're selling for 27 million, Duffy's deal's a good bit down the road. If we're selling, we've got our eyes on who's replacing him already. 27 millions. I know we won't spend all of it, but if we spend 10, you're going to get a decent centre half in.
I asked the question, there's been speculation around Ayer, there's been constant speculation around Eduard. And they were also talking about Encham. I think West Ham were sniffing around Encham for 20 million. If you had to choose one of them, you're looking at the squad, and Celtic could justify one sale, because I'm sure they would justify it. Which one of those three players would you not be happy to leave, but would you choose out of the three?
I would go with Ayer, because I think he's the one that's more likely to leave sooner rather than later. I think we've got a chance of hanging on to Cham for longer. So
if you look at that, Ken, if you think about Cham, we've got many midfielders. We don't have many centre halves. We don't have, just now we've now got 4 strikers, but Eddie's the one that stands out. So you'd be saying probably Cham would be the guy that would easily be able to go and be covered, because we seem to find midfielders. Centre halves we don't. And whether Shane Duffy's the answer or not, I'm not sure. But certainly just now, I would keep Ayer, and I would play Ayer ahead of Beaton. I don't think Beaton solves the issue of a hard centre half. So kind of worries me a little bit.
I think you're right. When you look at the midfield, it is the position where we've got an embarrassment of riches almost. It's sometimes difficult to choose your midfield, but it's rarely difficult to choose your front one or two.
Yeah.
And at the back, as you say, we're short. And as big a fan as I am of Encham, you've got to maybe look at any impact he makes in the next couple of weeks, because he has been in and out since he signed, And I think under Lennon as well, he's definitely not a first pick. But, we've seen what he could do, albeit against inferior opposition on Tuesday night. It will be a bigger challenge for him today. And, does he fancy it? Sometimes I think that about Encham. Does he fancy it today? Yeah. He's a 4 or a 9. There's no in between with Encham. But when he's on form, he's brilliant. And I was crying out for him against Kelly to come on and maybe cut through that tight packed defence at Rugby Park. But I agree with you, Des. I think midfield is a position where we have more players, and it would worry me and it would concern me if we sold Ayer at the moment.
Left back and centre back are the 2 positions we're weaker.
Yeah.
And we don't know about the goalkeeper yet. But
we don't. I know. I mean, he's not really. He didn't have much to do against Kilmarnock, to be fair, except take the ball at the back of the net. And then the other night, I know they scored an offside goal, but he hardly had a save to make, did he? Did he even make a save? One save. So we don't know. You don't spend 5 million, and hopefully we've done it in the past, and the players are dud. But he's not really been challenged yet, has he? So I think so. I think Ayer, we would keep a hold of him. The viewers have already started logging on and commenting, and you are all welcome. It's Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. It's free of charge, and we go out every single day, live broadcast, sometimes not on a Sunday, but you do get podcasts every single day. So keep the comments coming in, and your discussion points throughout the game. I was saying earlier on, normally if you're watching a game on a TV, you tend to make your feelings known on Twitter and Facebook and all that. So just come onto our stream and make the feelings known, and we'll put it out to the panel and we'll engage with you. So it's great to see you all with us. Craig Charlie Harrison, I hope you're well, and you're contacting us on Facebook. We do put out the broadcast a few minutes before the guys are ready, so that you can all get yourself a cup of tea or a tin of booze or whatever you're doing at home all over the world. We were just talking there, at the moment we're in the top 40 of the iTunes charts in 8 different countries. should be 9 really, but in 8 different countries at the moment. For as far-flung places as Malaysia and Vietnam, Costa Rica. We're big in Costa Rica, Paul.
Celtic hotspots.
Celtic hotspots, aye. Some other places are a wee bit more obvious, obviously. Ireland, New Zealand, Canada, Australia. We're not really breaking into the top of the charts in America yet, but we're trying our best, and we'll see how this season goes as we go ahead for 10 in a row. Paul, what do you think about getting the fans back into the grounds? There's talk about 1,000 fans getting into the Motherwell game.
Going to upset somebody.
Yeah. Or 54,000 folk.
I don't know how they're going to work it. Will it be a ballot or... I don't know. I don't know. What's your thoughts?
There was a few good suggestions yesterday. People were saying, what about, NHS workers getting in, or even Celtic staff members getting in, because I think they employ over 1,000. That would maybe be good, because it would be hard to question that, it'd be hard to argue with that. Yeah. Other people were of the view that, they will be looking at hospitality customers first. Because obviously they pay more in, even though the point was made that people who are buying season tickets, often it's a much bigger proportion of their income than perhaps, I'm not stereotyping, the hospitality and corporate element. So you're not going to please everybody, are you? It's going to be a tough one.
No, you'd like to think Celtic have got a plan. So they're looking at social distancing, they're looking at sanitisation, and they're looking at keeping people apart. And you'd like to think that they've got a plan in place that would be, maybe a fan every third seat, and every individual row, every row there would be a missing row type thing, so you could build up at least a number of people and have them sparse around the ground. 1,000 people and just sounds a random thing. I'm not quite sure. I don't know if anybody's really thought it through in terms of what you could benefit from. But then again, you've got to get people in and out of the stadium.
What are you going to achieve if you just put 1,000 in? I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's maybe a token gesture just to see how 1,000 would, but you want to do something where you've got people laid out purposefully on an area to see how it works, because you get in the stadium, out of the stadium. I mean, they're going to have any facilities for people to, if you want to go to the loo or something like that, or you want to go and get a pie, is that going to be there? How's that all work? And if it's thought through and if there's a plan submitted to, somebody in government that would allow it, they would say, yeah, let's give it a go. But I've not heard anything about how it's going to work.
It all seems a bit random, doesn't it?
It does a
expecting an exact number, exactly 1,000. Right, if you had the plan, how would that number go down to 1,000 on a plan? You think maybe somebody from government say, right, you can try by 1,000 just because it's 1,000.
No, you're right.
Minimum risk.
But I'm looking forward to it today, because obviously we had the 10 days where we didn't have any football whatsoever. So I'm looking forward to getting back to the domestic game. Dundee United, are there something of an unknown quantity, do you think, Paul?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a couple of players who is Shankland playing today, is he?
Well, the thing with Shankland, I was maybe saying it during the week there, that I felt maybe hadn't taken that step up, because people question that. He's had a few chances at a few clubs, but I was reminded that he's not been fit really for the beginning of the season. So it would be interesting. I also look at Hibs as well, Paul. I look at the boy Nesbitt, who's made that step up very well. He's made that step up. So, there's a lot of players like that. They find their level in the Scottish game. They can score goals for fun in the second tier, but that step up's too much for them, So it will be interesting. The guy's got a cap.
Let's see what you see.
But it was always a traditional feeder, in years gone by where, players could step up because the gap wasn't that much. And it's a shame now that it's just so great a gap for some players that they can't do it.
You're right, because a lot of, even if you go back to Jock Steen's days, the vast majority of his signings were domestic signings, and a lot of them were, you could say that some of these teams were up and down as well. There was only 2 divisions for the best part. So, Neil Lennon's looked refreshed there, and he was speaking during the week about Lee Griffiths and saying that he's still going to be unfit for a couple of weeks. We were all kind of choking to see. There's a Dundee United team confirmed there, so he's not starting. And it's one of the ones where you line up against Dundee United. We haven't seen them really at close quarters for 4 years, and you just never know. You're walking into the unknown. I'm looking at the rest of the teams, Paul, this season, and I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I actually think Hibs are going to be the second force in Scotland this season.
Hibs and Motherwell, I think they're going to be strong.
Yeah, strong. We were talking about that. You've still got the semi-finals and the finals of the Scottish Cup to go, and it potentially could be a Hibs Celtic Cup final. I think that'd be a really mouth-watering cup final.
I would, and you're right. And it probably in many ways, and I'm not making excuses before the game, we're not there yet, it probably benefits Hibs because you've got Jack Ross and John Potter have settled in now, haven't they? At the end of last season, people were looking at what they were doing. I think they've bought so well in the summer. They've bought really well, and that would be interesting. It's interesting also to see Frimpong back in the side, and I actually think he is the only person that can push Forrest in that squad on the right.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a defender, Paul. I honestly don't think he's a defender.
I think he'd better suit to 3-5-2.
He has started off. He did start off life as a right winger, didn't he? He did.
Yeah. Started off right wing.
He's got the skills. See, the thing as well, Lawrence, that worries me a wee bit is with players like Frimpong, you've seen him in his first half a dozen games and he was electric, and he was leaving everybody for dead. I don't see that in his game anymore.
He's been coached a bit more.
He has,
Aye.
I think it's other teams are more aware of him now and know what to expect from him, so they can plan how to handle him better. They know his tricks and go, right, well, this week guys, we maybe need to stand back a yard or do, because if we get close to him, he's knocking it by us and going on to it. So we can't give him that. So this is maybe what will make this a better game. These teams haven't played each other so often or against each other, so the players won't be as familiar with each other.
We talk a lot, Lawrence, about the old Celtic jersey. What do you make of this new home top? I'm growing to love it the more I see it.
I think it's a classic. I think all the kits for Adidas are.
I actually just bought my first kit since Seville, the green one.
The mint, is it a mint?
Green.
Well, the thing is, I remember, I always go back to this story, Paul. I was privileged to speak to Sean Fallon once when I was researching one of my books, and we were sitting, and it was a beautiful summer's day on the Great Western Road, and we were in front of a pub that was owned by his son-in-law, and this guy walked past. He was probably about the same age as me, and he had the Celtic top on, and Sean Fallon turned to me and says, imagine wearing that in the street. He wasn't being disrespectful to Celtic. He was talking about adults wearing, football jerseys. And that kind of stuck with me. And I'm thinking to myself, probably the only time I wear football jerseys is if I'm playing seven-a-sides or that kind of thing.
Make me feel bad, yeah.
But you make an exception when it looks as good as that, Paul.
I know, it's going to wear it.
You make an exception when it looks as good as that. It is, I've got to say, Adidas, I think next week, the third kit is going to be unveiled next week, the black one. But it's three crackers. I think back to the 125th anniversary season as well, Lawrence, where the kits were just beautiful. You had that white away one, remember? The black one with the tricolour on the sleeves, and then the home strip with the hidden tenants. Yep. It's the best set of kits we've had since then.
I've got a bit of an issue with the gold in it. I like green and white, just the green and white hoops, but...
That's what I was... That's I think what was holding me back a wee bit. It reminds me of one of the Nike ones we had. Scott McDonald played in that, and they had the gold in the collar. So, Lawrence, how do you think they've started? How are we shaping up?
Looking confident enough, knocking the ball about well, finding jerseys. It's away game. I suppose feeling them out a bit.
What I'm going to do, it's going to be interesting to see how we use the width. That was a big thing on Tuesday night. It was like watching two different teams compared to the Kilmarnock game, the way we were able to use the width and, spray the ball out there. And that's where we can damage teams. Fair play to Kilmarnock, who were able to nullify that. So let's have a look through some of the messages that are coming through on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Feel free to discuss any matters, any analysis, any discussion that comes to mind during this game. And we've got Martin Hanlon, who is contacting us from Irvine, California, watching it on YouTube. So hopefully you enjoy the show, Martin, and keep coming back for more. We do broadcast every single day, and it's all free charge. John Joe Boyle, do you know John Joe Boyle?
That's one of my cousins, yeah.
One of your pals. And a big hail to Jay Gowan, 86, who's watching it on Twitter. And look at that avatar, Lawrence, on the screen. He's wearing the retro Celtic away strip. What player do you think of when you look at that? Mings is Van Hooijdonk.
Oh, big Pierre.
Pierre, now that was a striker. Pierre Van Hooijdonk.
Collins, actually, I think, because he got that strip ripped in a game and he never got the free kick.
Remember that?
The ref's like, nothing wrong, and you're going, he's like, he's ripped the strip off him, come on.
Frimpong, come on, son. And Lil Smoke 19 on YouTube. I want to be Edouard, don't we all? don't we all? And hopefully, there'll be people all around the globe singing that after he scored a couple of goals today, I would hope. But we're still feeling our way about here at Tannadice, Lawrence, and it's going to be like that, I think, until the midfield maybe get a grip of it. So I'm going to be watching with interest the performance at Encham, because I've been singing his praises all week. But it's time for him now to step up to the mark, because I don't want him to become another Tommy Roderick and play 15, 16 games a season.
You're looking for him to, as you say, make his mark and say, like, you can't drop me. And after this game, you want him to kind of turn it on, don't you, and prove he should be starting every week.
What do you know about the new management team at Dundee United? It wasn't an obvious choice, was it? There's plenty of people who might have thrown their hat into the ring for the Dundee United job.
An interesting choice, wasn't it? Because there weren't many big names. There was a number of guys you'd have thought would have been a shoe-in for the job. Malky Mackay, the ex-England manager as well.
Yeah.
Steve McClaren.
Steve McClaren was up for that.
You know,
I was looking forward to the interview where he put on a Scottish accent. I think Craig Levine was in for it as well.
Aye.
Apparently he applied, but he didn't even get an interview.
He was
Is it a surprise?
Yeah.
It just shows you how a manager's stock drops, though, eh?
So quickly.
You know,
But what attracted Robbie Nielsen then to leave Dundee United and go to Hearts?
It's a
What
strange
was the
one.
driver for him? Because it doesn't make any sense.
He was at Hearts before, and I don't think it was weird when they let him go. I thought, wait, they've not been so nice letting you go, but you're going to go back. Especially the danger that they were going down, you're kind of going, you brought a team up.
I think so.
Maybe he just loves Hearts.
Maybe unfinished business, Lawrence. He went down to MK Dons, I think it was.
That's right.
And perhaps didn't get the success that he thought that he was going to get there. Yeah. So perhaps he thinks it's unfinished business at Tynecastle. I still think they're a club with huge potential, Hearts. And again, as much as Celtic fans aren't big fans of Hearts, and it's a toxic atmosphere through there when we play, they should be in the Premier League. I mean, their away support and all of these things, what they bring to the table. And I know it's all about merit, and you're down there because you got relegated. But it's a hard league to get out of, as Dundee United have shown over the last 4 seasons. They struggle. They've thrown a lot of money to come back into this league. But I do hope they stay in, not virtue of any kind of positive result today. Barca Boy, who is watching on Twitter and commenting via Periscope, is Big Ayer injured, or are we benching him, preventing an injury so he can be sold without a hitch?
You mentioned that.
That's potential. That is potential. I mean, 27 million to AC Milan, is that the type of offer for a player like Ayer, who you can't refuse?
I don't think he's been near ready to finish the article, so if you're getting that kind of money,
Well covered.
It's lucky there.
Someone is actually speculating that I've got Celtic jammies, so that's coming through on Facebook. I can categorically deny that. I didn't have Celtic pyjamas. My boy might have. I don't think they do them until about October, to be fair. Welcome back, Jason Christie. Welcome back to the show. You've been commenting all week, so keep your comments coming in. How do you think today will go? What's your prediction for today, Des? How do you think Celtic will fare?
So far from what I can see is that they kind of 2 chances that have come through with Dundee United wise, and we're kind of doing what we normally do. We're stroking the ball about without any real breakthrough as yet. So this looks like it's going to be a tough game.
Another tough side to break down. That's a nice bit of play, though. Excellent.
it's in the wrong way, isn't it?
Running into bother. And again, Frimpong's got an opportunity, because I was looking at El Hamid on Tuesday night thinking he's a first pick every week. The way he plays is just cool, personified. But Frimpong's in, so he needs to make an impression today,
Is a Jetty on the bench?
Did you see the bench there? I hope so. I hope Ayeti is on the bench, because I know that there's some youth, they're bleeding some youth in there. And again, Griffiths has been the subject of discussion this week as well, Paul, because I've just been looking at Anthony Stokes, who's just been linked to Livingston.
Yeah.
He's a boy that has been in a football wilderness, for 2 or 3 years. And if you lose that, before you know it, you're on the wrong side of 30.
Yep.
Lee Griffiths turns 30 this week. So is he running out of time at Celtic? That's the big question I would ask. Anthony Stokes, Livingston, no disrespect, but that boy should have been at a higher level.
Yep.
Would Stokesy be a good signing to replace Lyndon Dykes? 2 completely different players.
Depends if he can play in Astroturf.
I will.
I don't know what kind of surfaces he's been playing on in Iran. You know, Scotland, I think, quarter of our top flight sides, that was a bit ambitious with a Dundee United boy there, we back heel. A quarter of the pitches are AstroTurf or artificial, but I'm not sure what the situation is over in Iran. But I think he scored a few goals over there, Lawrence.
Aye. Was that when he was playing for the Tractor Club or something?
Yeah,
Aye.
that was one of them. You remember the conversation we had, this is us name dropping now, Paul. We were speaking to Neil Lennon when he was manager of Hibs and when he had just decided that Stokes was gone because he had been in Portugal and he actually flew over to do an event in Glasgow and then he flew right back over and he intimated that there had been an incident and somebody had broken the curfew and that somebody was Anthony Stokes. But since he left Hibs, he's just, you know...
Stats for Celtic, you probably don't think they were outstanding.
Aye. Was it close to 1 and 2 or something?
Aye, they were excellent.
Talking about synthetic pitches, has a team that has a synthetic pitch been relegated from the Premiership?
See, that's a good point, because what have you got? You've got Hamilton, Livingston, Kilmarnock at the moment.
Have any been relegated?
See, if
A
they've not,
synthetic pitch.
you would start wondering if that's a huge advantage.
I definitely think it is. I think
Yeah.
it must be worth about 6 or 8 points at least a season for a team. And then when you're looking at that, you know, people that don't think there's an advantage on a synthetic pitch are hurling from the moon, I have to say, because there's a definite. When we played last week, as if we were playing on ice sometimes, you know. So there's definitely something in it. And I'm just wondering if I don't know. If I'm just asking a question if the team's been relegated.
I think they all get really good home form, don't they?
Yeah.
You know, they've all got really good home form. You're kind of going, right.
There's an opportunity here for Celtic. We've got so many dead ball experts, but I mean, Christie's lining up like a Ronaldo there. You see that? Let's hope he can finish it like Ronaldo. Right?
Not quite.
Doesn't even get it beyond the wall. But you know, we were down just at one of the local teams. We were down at Haddington Athletic, and I've got to say that's a great tackle.
Exactly that.
I've got to say the pitch, the quality of the pitch was unbelievable, Paul. Down at the what was a junior ground, and the pitch was just lush, you know. And I was speaking to the committee and the coaching staff there, and I was talking to Joe Hamill, for example, who played for Livingston for many years.
Yep.
He's a player manager. What would you rather do? And you know, even though that's a junior pitch, you'd rather play there than at Almonville, you know, at Rugby Park.
Must be a hard sell for a manager, enticing them to come and play in AstroTurf 18 times a season.
I know.
Even if they're trying to get a loan player for, say, down south.
Who's going to give them
must
that? That's a risk.
I don't think there's any excuse for it. I was down at Avon the football greats.
That's right,
Tape for the penalty spot.
Yeah.
And all the former players are going, what a part they've got. If they can have this in juniors, that's standard. Why can't a Premier League teams have it?
Is it just a question of cost, Lawrence? Because obviously there's an upkeep even to the artificial pitches. There's an upkeep, but is it a cost issue? Is that why these teams are installing it?
I think as well that you know,
Great effort.
it's a community aspect as well for a lot of these teams, because it's open to all sorts of
they rent it out through the week, yeah.
So they can rent it out, and you know, it's a money spinner.
I think the cost thing, you've got a choice what you spend your money on. As a football club, you know, some clubs go spend it on that. You know, and do you want a good surface to play football on, or do you want the AstroTurf?
That was a great effort from Edward. That's what he's there for. And you know, a friend of the show doesn't rate him. He's the only Celtic fan, Paul, that I've spoken to that doesn't rate him. You know,
JB.
but I do want to see more of Yeti. That's an excellent pass, isn't it? Really, I want to see more of a Yeti, because I think Neil Lennon was saying during the week he's not quite there yet fitness wise. So it'd be great to see him getting maybe half an hour at least today. You know. But you know, it's kind of been quite an open game actually, which I'm delighted about, because I didn't want it to be 10 men behind the ball, Kilmarnock style, which is just a hard watch.
Yeah.
And I don't, you know, it's difficult for Celtic. Somehow they find it difficult to play against that. But it's a wider pitch, I would suggest.
Pitch, definitely.
Yeah.
I definitely not narrowed it.
No.
And by the way, Lawrence, you know, I probably praised Dyer, the Kelly manager, and the way that he approached the game. You know, yeah, he's brought the pitch in, but you know, it's just margins, tiny wee margins. If they can get an advantage, Paul, to try and get that 1-1 result. So, and then after the game, I thought he was very respectful to Celtic, Neil Lennon and Bolingoli over that affair. So fair play to him. You know, it's kind of anti-football, but
if it's within the rules, you know, he's right to do it, but it begs the question, why is it within the rules? Should you have to stick to the same size of park all season?
Maybe I'm an old romantic, but I just think there should be a Celtic player that can still break them down.
Aye,
You
yeah,
know?
absolutely.
If you think about the game, though, if you think about the way we played that, we approached it with a kind of normal line-up or normal setup, and in teams like that are going to sit back and play in a pitch like that, you really want to be putting the ball over the top of them so they're on their back foot. And instead, we were playing the ball in front of them. So when we broke down, when the ball invariably bounced away from us, we were in the defence because they're going right through, and this big guy was having a great game. And I still maintain that we should be playing a different type of football in these pitches against Livingston, against Kilmarnock, where we do put the ball over the top, so their defenders are going back away. And if they do get the ball and knock it out, our midfielders are coming in on top of the ball, so we're winning the ball instead of fighting for the ball.
Do you think that's maybe where, because we do tend to compare Edouard to Dembele? I mean, it would have been great to see the two of them, to be fair, as a partnership. But we sometimes compare them, and I always say, you know, Dembele had more defensive qualities to his game. You always seen him back, the amount of defensive headers that he won. Yeah. But going back to what you're saying there, Des, in a game like that, and I'm not saying hoof it up the park, but if you're going to change your style a wee bit, I think maybe Dembele would have been better suited than Edouard. In that respect.
Yeah, and it's not so much, I'm saying roofing up the park. It's kind of, you're trying to get them to turn and be, going back away. So they're winning the headers, but they're knocking the headers down to Christie, who's on coming, our midfield guys who are picking that ball up and putting them right under pressure again. Whereas we let them play, we played in front of them, and they won the ball, and we were under pressure, and it just wasn't a great game.
I suppose it's asking questions about their centre halves. Our centre halves struggled with the bounce of the ball when it's getting thrown at, and we didn't really do the same to them, did we? You're kind of going, if it's working for them, it might work for us.
Yeah, try to pass it through them, Lawrence said, because that's the Celtic way, and that's the type of players we've got as a creative style players. But even then, I was looking at the bench that day, and I thought, that's ideal for Lee Griffiths. Come on, do something, change the game.
Movement up front.
Yep. We're still talking about it 2 or 3 weeks later. That's how bad a result it was.
Tactically, that's what you want to be thinking. I'd like to think that our coaches and our manager have got that kind of tactical savvy about them, where it's different teams for different games.
I think so.
The same team every week against the same against different opposition in different pitches, and our next game after that was away to St Mirren, and I actually thought if that St Mirren game had went ahead, that was another sticky game for us because St Mirren are defending. We always have difficulty scoring against them in Paisley, and so we got
I think it's definitely different players for different games, even for different surfaces. We must have players that perform better or adapt better to the AstroTurf thing.
Mm-hmm. Have they got a 4G pitch at Lennoxtown?
Yeah, they do. They do. That's the thing, so there's no excuse.
I think Barrowfield as well. I mean, they're developing Barrowfield as well, so that's.
We put a few stands down there as well. Back to watching some games. I think which would be good. Aye.
I think predominantly for the women's team. I think initially, but
right.
But when you look at the squad and the use of the squad, I think it's also an interesting point that we've been talking about Tom Rogic leaving, and he's only played 33 games in 2 seasons. So the use of the squad, for a player like Rogic, you've got to give these guys game time, because otherwise, before you know it, their transfer value plummets. That's a guy that at one point was probably in the higher category, and we're trying to move him on for £4 million. So it makes sense to rotate the squad as well, depending on the games that you're playing. We've got enough in terms of personnel to do it. And here's Frimpong. Hopefully he can carve something out, because I think he's changed his game a hell of a lot since his first introduction.
Okay. I think with Rogic, he missed a lot through injury, didn't he? And it's when you've been out injured, try to get back into the team, try to get back up to speed.
It takes him a long time. When he first comes back from his injuries, he's always a little bit slow and kind of control the ball. Aye. But once he gets going, he's pretty outstanding.
Just to confirm again, just double checking the substitutes. Ajeti is on the bench, as is Klamala. Right. But there's also been talk about Celtic going for another striker, and Neil Lennon confirmed that they are still in the market for another striker. If they bring someone in, are we looking to ship someone out?
I think it's got to be.
I think it's maybe he knows he kind of rely on Griffiths now, so he's on record he wants 4 strikers, and and it's before he can rely on, isn't it?
3-5-2 must be on his mind.
Let's keep the comments coming in on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter, and we will comment back and discuss as many points as you raise as we possibly can. And Gary Doonan, who is a regular contributor to A Celtic State of Mind, United setting out a stall, full pressure on our back four when receiving the ball. That could have been an unfortunate collision there, but thankfully both Celtic players are unharmed. And a big shout out to Connor Mitchell, who's joining us watching it on YouTube. You can also watch on Facebook and on Twitter as well. Martin Hanlon, that 3-second delay between your YouTube stream and the Celtic TV just takes away the element of surprise. So we're ahead of Celtic TV. Oh, brilliant. So people in California are watching and getting a reaction from us before it actually happens on Celtic TV. Oh dear.
Which is hard if you're for Scotland.
I'm not digging out Celtic TV. Obviously, they're doing a great job under the circumstances. And I thought their footage on Tuesday night, the coverage was excellent, particularly Gordon Strachan and John Hartson having a wee set to about Eduard, whereby Strachan reckons he's a number 10 and Hartson thinks he's a number 9. What do you think of that, guys?
Strachan's just want to fight.
He does, aye.
He enjoys it, doesn't he?
It's the wind up.
He does. And I think it was Jerry McCulloch maybe asked if Hartson used to answer him back as much in the dressing room, and Strachan says no, because I was a gaffer. But Hartson wasn't holding back. I've got to say, I actually agree with John Hartson. I think he's an out-and-out striker.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for me.
But again, going back to the point that Des made there, you can't put everybody in a box. He's adaptable, depending on the game you're playing. So he could be a number 10, he could be a number 9, and he'll adapt. There's Scott Brown. Again, he's been subbed off in the last 2 games. Is that going to be a feature this season? Is running out of legs a wee bit?
I think games in a week, yeah. You watch him playing 2-3 games a week anyway.
I think when Cham come on, when he went off, you saw Cham was picking the ball up quicker for the centre halves and moving it forward quicker, which I think we are a bit ponderous at times.
Now, again, with regards to the kind of fake atmosphere, not having a support in a stadium like Tannadice, that kind of corner kick there, I remember Celtic taking that corner and it was being met by Jan Vennegoor of Hessling to win the league. And you're being roared on by the Celtic support. Exactly.
The league that wasn't extended but finished midweek.
Aye, that's right, Lawrence. Aye, the revisionists among us, or among them, might tell you different. But how big a factor is that? What do you think? I've never played at any level. I wouldn't know. How big a factor do you think that is?
No support.
Aye, for a team like Celtic, who, worldwide renowned for having that fan base that nobody likes to come to play there on a European night. And
I think an impetus when you get the crowd roaring and pushing you on, but I don't know. The professionals should be able to overcome teams like Dundee United, regardless.
I think so. I really do. I mean, a lot of these teams, I think it'd be cruel to say it, but a lot of these teams don't tend to play in front of huge crowds. Hamilton, Livingston, they don't play in front of huge crowds. I remember Hamilton playing at East End Park and they took 43 fans. 43 fans to the game. So, a lot of the time they're not used to playing in front of big crowds. Does it urge Celtic on when there's a minute to go? I think historically that's been an element. I think the crowd's been an element of that.
I think most former players say that, it's like 12 man, don't they? So it's definitely got
another corner for Celtic, and hopefully we'll get a better delivery from Ryan Christie this time, and it's a strange one.
I think we struggle with corners.
Straight off the training pitch. But it almost ended up in a ricochet into the back of the net, so you never know. But I just think Christie, with the delivery he's got, just get it in there. But
I just don't think he delivers what he should be, especially corners. I think he struggles.
We miss Griffiths again.
Yep.
Thinking Griffiths, aye.
We miss Griffiths. And somebody will tell me about the statistic. There's a football stats book that tells you shouldn't actually cross a corner in, because the chances of you scoring from a direct cross in are slim to none. And I think that's when a few years back Barcelona started just playing it out and building an attack from there. But when you've got the height of someone like Julian in there, you would expect the ball to be flighted in. But I think you know, in terms of the style of play of Julien and Beaton, they're quite similar, aren't they? They like to slow the ball down and play out from the back, and I think that's where we would maybe benefit from having a Shane Duffy in there.
They're not going to end the game with a bandage in their head with blood pouring for it either, probably.
No. What do you think it was about Julien coming up against the boy Dykes? Dykes always gave him a few problems, didn't he?
I think it's more the AstroTurf. I think
You think it was a pitch more than a player?
But aye, I think it's reading the big
Nervous
bounce of
about
the ball, the speed of the ball.
yeah.
Yeah, because the ball doesn't run true on an AstroTurf pitch, and it'll stop quicker. Sometimes it'll
He's
bounce
not
higher.
committed to it. He's not committed to the ball.
I would hope. I mean, we're 25 minutes into the game, Lawrence. What's your kind of takeaway from the first 25?
It's fairly open, at least Dundee United's not sitting behind it. We're getting a bit of joy down the left,
yeah.
just where we're coming down now. So it's just the final balls have been poor. You know, we're getting a bit of ball down the left wing, but there's never really been a decent ball in.
And again, a lot of these clubs are just very well organised, aren't they? They don't have a huge amount of creative flair, but they're very well organised. And as I said just before there, when I was talking about the Kilmarnock game, that's down to us. We need to find a solution to that. You can't just complain about the way that they set up or the pitch.
We're on here.
Card.
Well, he's going to card you. You know, there's never going to be a question of that.
And we get away with that one there.
We'll have another wee look at that though.
Oh, it's a bit high.
Jeez, both of
Give
them
a
are
high
both
there,
of them,
like,
both of them are nowhere near the ball. So you're kind of going,
You see all the talk, and the three players I've mentioned, a lot of the talk transfer-wise, the speculation has been around Edouard, Ayer and Encham, but you can't forget that you've got a player in Callum McGregor who is virtually irreplaceable at this moment in time, you know, and I'm pretty sure that Brendan Rodgers has probably got his sights on him as well, you know. Talking about Judas's earlier on, we'll just throw in Brendan's name as well.
But he's 27 though, isn't he? 27 years old.
He is,
so he's
yeah.
kinda,
See,
He's at his peak now.
he is at his peak, yeah. But I mean, for us, like to keep him in.
do you think there's an element of guys like McGregor, who's been at the club since he was a kid, to say that they do want to stay until 10? I know that a lot of guys that maybe come in from overseas, it doesn't mean as much to them, Paul, but someone like McGregor, that, you know, after the 10 in a row, is that when things change for him? If we win 10 in a row, of course.
I think Christie should have free there. Yeah. Maybe the assistant ref was looking elsewhere.
That was definitely a trip.
Aye. He's got arm on the back.
They
Clapping
must
his
still
heels at the same
charge
time. You're like,
I think after the comments during the week there from Kieran Tierney, and he was talking about obviously the aftermath of leaving Celtic, and there's no doubt in anybody's mind, surely, that the boy was Celtic through and through, but you've got to be realistic. You've got to be realistic, and Celtic fans also leave the club, and we know the cliches about it being a short career and anything can change, opportunity, a lifetime, etc. But I'm of the view that his outlook on the game, his view, even in the world, was probably changed under Brendan Rodgers. I think Rodgers was a huge influence on Kieran Tierney, and it's probably changed the way that he looks at his own career.
I think Rodgers is on record saying that, you know, you've got to test yourself at the highest level to him, I not meaning with us, and it's
because he views the game differently, Brendan Rodgers. It's all about Brendan Rodgers, you know, brand Brendan. And you know, if a player, well, some of the examples we've had in the kind of recent past would be, I guess, you know, Paul McStay, Danny McGrain, who stay at the club, albeit Danny had a season at Hamilton for the best years of their career.
won the league with him.
He did, didn't he? Yeah?
Yep.
And then he was promised the job elsewhere, and then that was him out of the game for several
He
seasons.
said his farewells apparently, didn't he, after one game? He's not going to Sampdoria.
Sampdoria, Calgary, but it was definitely out, wasn't it? Threw his jersey in the jungle.
92 or something.
Under Brady, but then I think the old board come up with, was it 10 grand a week from or something, which was...
He got an amazing deal, and he got a pension, which was the biggest pension in British football at that time, as well.
All right.
Aye, so that played a big part in it financially. But I mean, Paul McStay was a one club man. It's just a shame he got that ankle injury that he couldn't shake off.
He bumped into Managerial.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, Sydney. A mall, believe it or not. He's working as a sports, some sports science company, And so my wife spotted him, was just waiting for a cup of coffee. And I had to go up and say, you Paul McStew.
He's
It
also
was really nice. He just kind of he stayed and talked for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
You know? The guy gave me his coffee to go, and he stayed and talked to us for a couple of minutes, and then kind of went away. Really genuinely nice guy.
Real Ferdinand Ciro.
Yeah. I always thought though, Lawrence, players like Paul McStay and also, Roy Aitken, I just never thought these guys would ever be away from the club. I always thought they'd have an involvement with the club.
That was it Scottish Cup? Wee Aiken get a harsh red card. I think he came a second of it at that time. He was off to Newcastle quickly, wasn't he?
It was a strange one as well because around about that time there was loads of things happening obviously behind the scenes, Lawrence, but I just felt Celtic let Tommy Burns and Roy Aitken go away quite close together, and the experience that they two guys had, we didn't replace it.
Yep.
We didn't replace it, and the team was weak without them. It was weakened without them, and it took us years to overcome that, plus the bad management at board level. We're half an hour into the game here, and it's difficult to know. I think both teams have had a couple of chances. It's difficult. I wouldn't say Celtic are completely dominating this game, and on the counter attack, Dundee United have looked pretty dangerous. It's good to see that Julien seems to be on a solid performance though, because it could go either way sometimes,
He seems to be coming for the ball earlier. I think the touch is what you were talking about earlier. That he's waiting to see how the bounce goes, and after that, on this, he's quite happy to go early.
Seems to be a better opportunity to the left-hand side going forward. Taylor's got a bit more room than we have on the right-hand side.
And Taylor, I mean, his distribution's excellent. His crossing has been brilliant. It's one of the things people were criticising. Remember Moritz Boyer last season, the right back. But his distribution was fantastic. Every time he got the ball, it was in the box. Mm-hmm. He always found the boy in the box, And I don't think he was as bad as a lot of Celtic fans made out, to be fair.
We got lucky there. We were screaming out for a right back. We had Lustig, but apart from Lustig, we ended up with 3 last year.
I know. Yeah. No, you're right. We're screaming out for a right back for a long time. Hopefully another test.
I think, Frimpong was one of a project that developed a lot quicker, wasn't it?
Quicker, yeah.
I think if anyone was to pick out of the two of them, because Frimpong and the boy that came in from Manchester United, who's just gone to Tranmere, Lawrence, most people would have said that O'Connor would have been the boy.
His experience, international, 21.
Did anyone see the free kick there? And what happened, AJ?
What?
Can't see what the refs saw. It looks like the boys running into the back of the ring. You're kind of going.
I mean, I'm not one for subscribing to the theory that we're going to lose this league, first and foremost, but also I do think we're up against it sometimes, depending on who the referee is. And I'm not one of these paranoid conspiracists, but some of the referees, you just look at that and you're thinking to yourself, at 1-1 with a minute to go, you didn't want anything to happen because it won't fall in our favour.
I think, it was like when we went out at Cup to Morton a few seasons ago. It was outside the box a lot, boy went down, but that ref was itching to give the penalty.
Yes.
It's 0-0 and he's like...
Keep the comments coming in as Dundee United go on the attack, and it looks as though Barca's got a touch to that. We need to have a look at the...
slack passing again.
It was.
We're getting curved open too easy here. Midfield's not...
That's wide open.
Up, so it's
wide open. But the comments are coming in, so let's work our way through some of them. And we've got Joe Porter, who is commenting on YouTube to say that it's great to have SPL football back at Tannadice. I think Dundee United are a top flight club. I would say the same, Paul. Maybe I'm biased. I would say Dunfermline should be in the top league as well. They're a club that they've got all the facilities, they've got the history, they've got this fan base.
How long have they been away for?
Oh, it's been some time.
Chance. Used to hit that first time, shouldn't he? Yeah.
How long has it been? Did you say 8 years? Somebody say 8 years? It's been 8 years since the administration issue, so it probably has been as long as that. But I know it's about merit. You can't hand-pick teams that you think should be in the league. But it would be good to have someone from that region in the division as well.
Do they have a grass park?
Yes, they do.
I'm all for them coming up then.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. They have tried the artificial pitches, Lawrence, and they famously had the one that was endorsed by Ian Rush. Remember Ian Rush? who was one of the consultants for one of the companies. So East End Park was artificial, and the players hated it. They absolutely hated that. And they did blame it on a lot of injuries as well.
Yep.
Dundee United are carving through that defence far too easily for my liking.
Yep. We're playing like we've got 3 centre backs on the wing backs.
I wonder where Frimpong's.
Well, we're not.
And then he's too
And
far in the park there, wasn't he?
that last attack there, Taylor up the park.
Well, just at that, there is a comment coming in from Jason Christie who reckons in defence Frimpong is a liability. I mean, would you say you agree with that?
To an extent, yeah. He's so attack minded that he's going to get caught out. He's going to leave big gaps.
I think it's his positional sense sometimes, and he's off the ball isn't what it should be, but maybe that comes through game time.
Oh, that was hard lines. That was hard lines. But we're still on the attack. And just as we're criticising him, he shows us what he can do. From an
That's the
offensive.
other side of the park. That's
Definitely. And again, the other night I was very impressed with El Yunusi. I mean, I've been disappointed with him so far this season, but I think that he was excellent on Tuesday night, and hopefully he can continue with that form today. Not seen a great deal from him so far. So you were 35 minutes in. I mean, for me it's been probably Celtic have been a dominant team, but Dundee United have had some good chances. Are you concerned at this stage at 0-0?
no, I wouldn't say so.
No, I think we're giving him a.
They're quite well drilled, but I think it's an open game. I think the longer it goes on, we'll get a couple of chances.
Here's one for the old school, because I think we're all in that category in the studio today. Someone's coming in from Facebook. McStay or Brown, who is better? Well, I'll ask the audience to tell us your comments, but I'll start off with you, Lawrence. Paul McStay, Scott Brown, who's better?
They're obviously not talking about football because it would be McStay, so it must be a question with some doubt. I think McStay just was far superior. I think he had everything at his game.
Yep.
And as much as Brown's been a standout, I don't think he's on the same level as McStay.
No, I agree.
Paul?
McStay for me.
McStay?
Yep, I'll make it 3 McStay as well. Fabulous player.
Full house.
Well, what I'll say is Paul McStay was a better player, but Scott Brown was a better captain. I don't actually think Paul McStay should have been the captain of Celtic. And I think that it was too much pressure on him, actually. I think it was, something that actually prevented him from just concentrating on his own game.
Football, right?
There was a time when Paul Elliott came in, and I thought he was a model captain. We interviewed him on the podcast a couple of months back, and I said that to him. And Elliott said, I was a captain anyway. Even if I didn't have the captain's armband, I would play like a captain. I would deal with my teammates like a captain. And that's fair enough, but I just felt it was an added pressure that Paul McStay didn't need.
That's what Martin Neil says about Neil Lennon.
Is that right?
Never made him captain, but he was always captain on the park.
Yep. I hope that's nothing serious with Eddie. Hope he can run it off. But I mean, it's a good question. And let's see what anyone else out there who's watching the game thinks. Paul McStay or Scott Brown? Who's the better player? It just says who's better, and that's why I've said that Brown's a better captain.
It sounds like a very straightforward question, but actually, the point you make about the captain makes it a bit more interesting.
And the thing with McStay as well is, he played in.
Great save the keeper there.
He played in a very poor Celtic side for many years, and I don't think, we've had our ups and downs with Brown playing. I don't think he's ever played in a poor Celtic side. Maybe under
Very
Tony
different
Mabry.
as characters, the two of them.
I know.
Very different.
I know, yeah. Very humble Paul McStay, isn't
Yeah, quiet.
But by all accounts, I've never met Scott Brown, but he's meant to be a decent chap as well, off the pitch.
He's taking Celtic play late after he's cleared it, hasn't he? I think he's meant to hit him.
That's a decent stop.
Good save, yeah.
I think he clicks Frimpong late here and he's meant it, which is
Well, if he has, it should have been.
should be a penalty. And if he's meant it, you know what I mean. You can't clear it and mean you hit the player.
I mean, Frimpong is probably one of the most kicked players we've got in the team, just because of the style of play.
Yeah.
And it's because of that reason, going back to something you said, Paul, we need cover at left back, because Greg Taylor.
He's been injured a couple of times this
Yeah.
season. He's prone to it.
So the question is Aaron Hickey. Aaron Hickey's name's getting thrown about
Is
as
he not went
backup.
to Munich yet? Is that not happened?
Well, we had a wee bit of inside info on that the other day there, and he had he had spoken to Bologna, and Bologna had actually offered them €28,000 a week. That was what they offered him. And there's no way Celtic are going to match that for an 18-year-old backup. So I don't think he'll come to Celtic. One way or another, it'll be Bayern Munich, or he might follow the money elsewhere.
I don't think even we've managed 8,000 for him, you know.
When did we let him go? What stage was he at?
17. He was under 17s, wasn't he?
Aye, but I
Is
don't
it
know.
back, is it?
Another Andy Robertson.
Robertson, you know, so it's definitely a
But
kind
you
of
know,
line
there's
there.
been a few players that age that have moved to Bayern recently. I don't know if it's a lack of reserve league that's called
It's a lack of competitive football, and it's very stop-start, I think.
Because although we let Hickey
Go on.
how much essay did he have in it? Oh, that keeper's he's looking decent, that keeper, for him, isn't he?
It's a good game.
He's getting down quick.
Just picking up on one of the points we made earlier, Joe Porter reckons that Inverness, Falkirk, Raith Rovers, a lot of teams that should be in Scotland's top division. I mean, it's obviously it's on merit, but Partick Thistle were always a team that I viewed as being top flight side, you know. But you know, you go further back, Des, you'll remember the days of Clyde. You know, Clyde being in the top league and producing some excellent footballers.
Harry Hood. Arts players.
Actually,
But maybe it's just the top league's too small now in terms of numbers of teams compared to where it used to be.
Well, Joe Porter,
You've got to have some dropping.
it's picked up on that point actually, Lawrence, in saying it's a 16-team league. It is something that's been spoken about time and time again. You know, there's this fear factor constantly of relegation, that teams shut up shop because, you know, the margins are so fine when you've only got 12 teams in the league, you know. So a 16-team league, could we do it? I think we've got too many leagues for sure. Although it's been a good thing, Lawrence, that the pyramid system has opened itself up to teams like Haddington being in a pyramid where they can actually progress. There's no ceiling. But again, hopefully Celtic can do something 5 minutes before half time with this corner, because
Put pressure on it.
they are.
It's kind of
Some chances.
They're turning the screw.
good. It's a bit more open about how a team gets into the league if they want to get into it, because sometimes, you know, you're unsure how a team get picked to get into the league when space is opened up.
You're right, it was an application process, wasn't it?
Right, yeah.
Yep.
I'm not overly impressed with that corner, to be honest with you.
That's it. How many corners have we had? 4 or 5?
We've got to make them count. It goes back to my point, Paul. The actual percentage of a corner kick getting flighted in and actually scoring from that corner is quite slim. It's actually a small percentage. Someone online might have that percentage, but that's why a lot of teams stop flighting the ball in.
When the delivery's poor as well.
I know. It doesn't help. And again, going back to Griff, that's something we miss for Lee Griffiths. But I do fear that he's on his way out. I fear that if Lee Griffiths comes back in as the 4th or 5th choice striker, he's gone.
Aye.
But where does he go? He's not going out on loan, according to Neil Lennon.
No.
He's not going out on loan. So where does a player like Griffiths go? Do you sell him to a club like Hibs and then have that fear factor that he'll come back to haunt you? Because that's a possibility.
What's his value, Paul? Because his value must be around about the 4 or 5 million mark. So he's not going to a team in Scotland.
No.
Yep.
So he's going to go
I don't think
somewhere
he'll get
else.
anywhere near that for Griffiths now.
I
There's
think
no
Championship
team
you would. Yeah.
Absolutely would.
So,
Yeah.
The money down south, Championship, 4 or 5 million, you're like... He's had a decent record down south as well, didn't he?
He did. He's actually got a good goal scoring record with every club he's been at. You know, but when you turn 30 and you've really not played for a good couple of seasons, you're at that age now where it's kind of last chance saloon. But he's already been in it, isn't he? Yet another corner, Paul. They're going to flight it in.
Let's go.
This is a question.
Back post.
And you don't clear the front post.
He's listening to me there.
Somebody needs to dig out that book I was referring to that's speaking about Denny's flight in a corner because you don't score from it. The numbers game, I think it's called, the book. But again, you can get bogged down with stats, can't you? You can get bogged down with them. I mean, someday again will probably pick me up for being a dinosaur for saying that, but you can get bogged down with the stats. There's nothing better than flighting a corner in and Julian meeting away his head. But yeah, I'm slightly concerned that we've not been able to score so far, because this could get fairly tight if we're going at nothing each. Neil Lennon historically doesn't make changes at half time.
No.
So it's one of these situations where, it could be a bit of a 0-0 right up to the last quarter of the game. Lawrence, as a first half performance, what have you made of this?
It's good that United is not sitting behind the ball. We've had plenty of the ball, but we've not really had one clear-cut chance, have we? Yeah, it's kind of scrappy chances we've had.
Even playing. I think there's always opportunity if we went to 3-5-2, putting Ayer on and taking El Yunusi off. And
You'd expect that.
El Yunusi's barely featured, is he?
nah,
He's been anonymous. That's the frustration with me with El Yunusi. Is to try and find that level where he's got a consistent performance rather than anonymous as he has been today. He shows what he can do on Tuesday night, albeit against lesser opposition. But I've got to say that the standard of the corners by both sides have been really poor today. Really poor. Would you make a change? Half time. Would you make a change?
probably not. I'd probably give it 10. But again, he doesn't make early substitutions, really, does he?
I think if anyone knows he's being anonymous, it's although we've had joy down the left-hand side, if you had somebody who's contributing a bit more, it's...
What change do you make then, Lawrence, if El Yunusi's about to come off?
But again, being a bit more open, do you put
We've still got Forrest on the bench.
open game and suit Forrest? Do you change to, put one of the strikers on? The fact that, they're more open, it might...
See,
So if Cal Marks was a card...
Aye, you're right.
I like to see that one again. Aye.
You're right, and I think actually Encham did well to get right up. He could have played on that.
Card, innit?
That's a yellow card all day long, but he's just told to calm down. He's going to get booked for his mouth before he gets booked for the actual challenge.
Yeah, and if Cal Marks getting a card for it, you're like...
What's the boy's surname? The referee?
What I call him up.
Well, this is it. We're getting some feedback in on the McStay/Brown debate, even if it is a debate, and I'll be looking at that in just a moment after this set piece. Hopefully we can get something positive from that. I've been disappointed so far with the set place, I've got to say.
I thought it was a decent enough ball, just the runners weren't...
Your shots there.
Aye, you're kind of going, if that centre half's going to meet it, somebody's need to go with him, get a touch on it. But
So, half-time stalemate, and let's have a look at some of the comments coming in, and Lawrence and I will deal with that, and we'll have a look at the debate in relation to Paul McStay and Scott Brown. So, Lawrence, you reckon Paul McStay?
aye, McStay, I suppose I went Holy Cross, he was a Holy Cross boy, but grew up watching him, met him a few times, but just in terms of what he brought to what was a really poor team in the latter part of his career, I just think his passing, shooting, tackling, he had everything. But he first broke in, he scored a bit more goals, was a penalty taker as well. I think at that time you could have these picker teams, certainly UK, obviously there was a few teams in Italy looking for him. I just think he was a level above.
I spoke to Willie McStay a couple of years ago, and I asked him the question, where were the offers coming in from? And he suggested Inter Milan, Juventus, that level of side, and that was from quite a young age. You're talking 18-year-old.
Yeah.
And then there was a suggestion that he wanted to sign for Everton, and I think that around about the time that you mentioned there, Paul, when he threw his jersey in the crowd, the club most likely to buy him at that stage was Everton, and I think the manager was Howard Kendall, and he'd been down and spoken to them, and then he changed his mind and he stayed obviously for the rest of his career at Celtic. So Paul McStay is getting most of the votes from the viewers. So Joe Porter reckons that Paul McStay was a better player than Scott Brown, and no contest, says Francie W. McStay all day long. And so, my counter argument was, if you were to look at Scott Brown's leadership quality and ability, then Brown's a better captain.
And the way he winds other people up.
There is that, you've got the
Rooney.
yeah.
Because Paul McStay didn't need to do that.
He's up pumping his chest.
But you're looking going, well, McStay didn't need to do that because he was just that good.
I know, yeah. Aye.
It was. So he played against Stoichkov for one game and Stoichkov just didn't get a touch. And you're going,
Aye.
And Joe Porter also mentions that Lee Griffiths is way better than Klamala. Have we seen enough of
We know that
Klamala?
yet.
Do we know enough about the boy?
They look different. Different players.
They definitely do. I mean, when you're looking at that bench, if you're going to bring someone on, Klamala's the second choice, isn't it? You're going to throw in a Yeti before Klamala at this stage. If you've spent £5 million on a player who was in the English Premiership last season, you'd think he's going to get a goal before Klamala. Hopefully Edouard's not injured. I think he's taken a few dull ones in the first half.
I think it might come down to fitness between Ayeti and Klamala though. You might go, I think Klamala's more up to speed.
I should be further on.
Francie.w, thanks again for your comments via YouTube, and he says he'll probably get pelters for this, but we could be doing with an on-form James Forrest here.
Of course we could.
So I agree with
Decent boy to have on the bench.
Absolutely.
when they're playing so open, it allows Forrest just to use that pace, doesn't it? And
But they're getting men back. They're defending deep as well in the box, and I think we're trying to get behind them. Our best opportunities down the left-hand side with Taylor. But when he's getting the ball, apart from Eddie, and sometimes Eddie's not there, there's nobody in the box.
aye,
I think the most likely thing to happen is that Lennon will just, start the second half as he started the first, and hope that we're able to break Dundee United down. I certainly don't think he'll make any changes at half time, Paul, because he's not known for that, is he?
No, I think that the obvious one just now is El Younussi coming off for another striker
yeah.
and going 4-4-2.
El Younussi off, Rogic on. Unfortunately not. Do you think it was time for Rogic to leave?
I thought last season it was.
Yeah.
I just thought injury, he went away to that friendly in the Middle East with Australia,
Yeah.
picked up his injury, and he was never really back in yet. But I think last season we'd have got 8 or 9 million for him, whereas now we're looking at 4.
Mm-hmm.
We've
You're
got
almost-
players in midfield, haven't we?
I think it's time for him to go.
Aye.
I do.
But from his perspective as well, he needs to get games, He'll have ambitions, he needs to get games. You can't be playing 16 games a season. So,
Some amazing moments with Rogic
Aye.
that I won't forget.
interestingly enough, and again, I don't have the stats, but he didn't play an incredible amount of games under Neil Lennon first time round. So I don't know.
He was very young then, wasn't he? He could only have been 18, 19 back then.
And I think he played in that infamous game launch that you mentioned earlier against Morton, didn't he? He was thrown into that game. But I don't know whether or not he fits or has ever fitted Neil Lennon's plan. But as you say, it's unfortunate we're only getting 4 million for him. But if you reinvest that maybe towards the Shane Duffy deal, I think we need a centre half before we needed a creative midfield player or attacking midfield player. But we'll see how it goes. That was an excellent chance by Edouard in the first half where he hit the post. But Celtic definitely have it in their locker to beat this Dundee United side. I mean, they've had a few breakaways, Paul, but I've never been overly concerned.
Don't think I'm too worried
In the first
just
half.
now. No. I just I'd like to see a wee breakthrough in the first 10 minutes. The second half, but
I think the keeper's had a few decent saves, hasn't he?
aye. You come into the game strongly, the last bit of the first half there.
Joe Porter is also a fan of James Forrest, but it could be what the comment I just made there about Rogic. Yeah, the longer somebody's not playing, the better they get, don't they? I mean, remember Bolly? No
I think
Bolly.
he's ever going to get better, Bolly.
Big Baldy. Sorry, Bolly. Sorry, Baldy. Bobo Baldy. When he was out the team, he became the best defender in the world, didn't he?
Well, we'd come back in, we kept the first clean sheet in a while against Dundee United at Parkhead, at Celtic Park, aye.
Yeah, he had his socks right over his knees. Chris Sutton reckons he was murdered. Couldn't he pass a ball?
Aye. Yep.
Couldn't he pass a ball?
Aye, with the fight in the dressing room about that.
That's right. That's right, aye.
The big Chris was good at centre half, isn't he?
He's such an adaptable player, Lawrence. He could
Made
play
Spencer
anywhere.
Hartson and that.
Was that a penalty, by the way? What do you reckon?
I think so, aye.
That's one of the biggest talking points. But thankfully, the footage we're watching, it shows you in real time rather than a nice wee slow-mo. It would have been good to see it in slow motion. But that's the kind of thing that completely changes this game, because if Celtic get that first goal, I can see it being 2-0, 3-0, And Dundee United are playing on the counter, aren't they?
Yeah, and they're moving the ball quick enough with that counter, aren't they? They've got kind of 3 or 4 players moving it up
It's
at the same
working for
time.
them though, when you're pushing so far up in the wing back position. It's working for them.
It's a shame that we've got the volume down while Chris Boyd's giving his analysis.
He looks
But
quite happy about something,
He's
doesn't
happy
he? He
now.
seems to be kind of
I know
quite jovial.
anybody else who feels the same, get tuned into the Celtic State. That's a penalty all day long. Celtic State of Mind match day coverage. We're live. We're going to be live throughout the game, and also for a spell after the game. Our match day sponsors are JBM's Scotland. We have Des and Paul Cole in the studio at Celtic State of Mind. Are based at Dalkeith. What do you think of the studio, guys?
It's amazing.
Very nice.
Like
What a
it.
job.
It's a nice vibe about the place, isn't
It
it?
certainly is.
Aye.
I like the Stevie Chalmers memorabilia out there, his old straps and his boots.
It's good. I think what we're trying to do, Lawrence, is make it obviously a Celtic State of Mind's a large part of what a State of Mind does, but we are promoting and developing other shows as well. So it's to cater for all tastes. So there's quite a bit of Celtic stuff out there. I think there's a few Hibs signed footballs. There's an Alloa. There's an Alloa football. Yeah, exactly. And it's an old school one with a good crest because they changed the crest, didn't they?
Is that same old Alloa always cheating?
Aye. Alba Athletic, yep. I think they're a fairly well-run club, to be honest with you, Lawrence. I think Mulroney does no bad job there at Alba, at the Rex, obviously managed by Peter Grant as well. Talking about midfielders, what's your memories of Peter Grant?
I think 95 season, he was really good for us, I thought.
That's
He was 95
Cup
is
final.
probably his best season. Was.
Man of the match that day, Airdrie.
Yeah, I mean, I was only 12, 13, so don't remember too much about him. And certainly not when he was younger, went through, but I remember sort of 95 season, or the Hampden season as well. It was a sore one. Tragic.
I think
That
he
was a
gonna-
sore one, that season.
He was going to be an attacking midfielder, but then obviously Paul McStay, and I think we kind of Grant was too good to lose. Let's turn him into defensive midfield, and I think he suffered a bit from that. I think in the reserves, Frank Connolly might have been reserve manager at the time when he was coming through there.
It was Davy Hay that gave him his debut, wasn't it?
Yep.
He was only 17 against Rangers, made his debut.
David against Rangers,
Brooks, yeah.
And the thing is, now when you listen to Grant speaking, he says, he was the water carrier and he just passed the ball on to the creative players like Paul McStay.
Yep.
So he knew that. He maybe didn't know that at the time. But I do remember the Hampden season well. In the Airdrie game, the ticket I got, Paul, was it was a terrible. Well, I don't like Hampden anyway because you're so far away from the park. But I was in the front row. And I remember when they were doing the lap of honour and the players and the crowd were singing the fields, right? And I was just standing at one of the wee barriers, all the stewards obviously were stopping guys for running on the pitch, but people were invading the pitch. And this guy behind me was wearing, I'll never forget it, he was wearing one of the Opal Republic of Ireland strips. And he had this bouffant with big Wakes, big Jack Duckworth glasses on. And he was from Ireland, right? He's right, son, you're next, get on the pitch. And I was like, what age would I have been? 15. I wasn't up for that. So anyway, he jumps my space and away he goes. My mum taped the game for me and I'm watching it that night and what do I see? This same guy with the Wakes, huckled by the pole, the arm up the back. I'm thinking, God, thank God for that. Because I was 16, so I could have been locked up, Thank God for that. So, aye.
Camera as well.
I know.
Good.
Was that Rudy's last season before he went to Bundesliga?
That's a good question actually, because I remember we did the interview with Rudy Vata.
Rudy Vata.
Ah, right, yeah.
Rudy Vata tells a great story. I mean, of his life actually. He was basically an asylum seeker, and he was playing for Albania against France, wasn't he?
Yep.
And it was an under-21 game in France. And some of the players that were playing, I think he mentioned Ginola was playing that night for France. And after the game, he ran up the tunnel, didn't even go in and get his gear, ran right to the stadium, got a taxi, gone. And he sought asylum, went to a police station. And so when he signed for Celtic, Tommy Burns basically says to him, when Burns came in, you're a Liam Brady signing. And Liam wanted to sign him for Brighton. You should sign for Brighton because I'm not going to play you. He was blunt with him straight off the bat, but Rudy said, no, I'm going to stay here. I like it here. And he proved Tommy wrong, and apparently, Tommy took that on the chin and says, he proved me wrong. So
Scored for a free kick that season at Hampden.
against Rangers.
Yep.
3-0 game.
Yep.
Funny thing about that game is on our bus leaving from Valleyfield was a guy called Brian Potter, who's actually the big brother of John Potter, who's the assistant manager at Hibs.
Right.
And Brian, and as sure as I'm sitting here today, was sitting on that bus with a Celtic scarf on with his big brother Gavin, the three brothers. And that was the season Brian saved the penalty for Wraith Rovers that got them into the Coca-Cola Cup final. Aye. So I remember that game. I always think back to that Rangers game.
I was clubbed out for that.
Aye, he was on the bench for the final. Scott Thompson was in goals, wasn't he, for Wraith Rovers that day? But aye, Brian saved that penalty against Airdrie in the semi. Aye, so good Celtic family. And of course, John played with Celtic in his formative years. And but I think Hibs, for me, I'm watching Dundee United there. I've been fairly impressed with Dundee United, but I think Hibs are going to be the team to watch this season. I don't see Aberdeen being a force.
Right, Aberdeen's going
Depends how many
to
players they've got left.
they're going to need another striker in, which is hard to get. You know, there's rumours about Griffiths, but obviously Lenny's kind of watched that. They won't have the money to buy him even with a new owner.
There's no sale to road in Scotland.
I'm interested to see when the first quarter of games are going. So they'll play each other once, and how it all kind of pans out from there.
O'Donnell going to Motherwell was an inch because he was quite a solid, decent fullback.
He was.
Could have done a job.
I know. And again, he's a guy that was at Celtic as a young player.
Was he?
Yep.
And he was freed. And at that time, Jackie McNamara and Simon Donnelly were at Partick Thistle. And they played the game really well. So they were signing a lot of the free guys from Celtic and Rangers, or giving them trials at least. So they brought in O'Donnell, and you know, before you knew it, he gets his transfer and he becomes a Scotland cap. But he himself, I think Simon Donnelly said he didn't believe he was a right back. He thought he was maybe a right winger or a right midfield player. But they've got a great record. You know, people forget the record that Donnelly and McNamara have got at Thistle and at Dundee United, plucking players from obscurity at times. Robertson being the case in point, but loads of other players that they turned around. And I think people forget that when they think about the way they left Dundee United, you know, and the issues, which shouldn't really have been issues around them making profit from profit, because a lot of managers have that in their contract.
Yeah. Well, they're obviously not getting their base. You know, it's their base salary is obviously less if they sign up for that, isn't it? It's
Well,
who else did they have? Gary
their
McKay,
ba-
Stevens, Armstrong.
Yeah.
You might laugh, but remember Nadir Chiefche before he signed for Celtic, scoring 20 goals a season for Dundee United. And but you're right. Somebody told me the wage that the pair of them were on at Dundee United. So you know, to have that written into their deal, I think was fair enough.
Yep.
But the owner at the time threw them under the bus, didn't he?
Well, it's either he's taking the blame or they're taking the blame. I suppose that was it, wasn't it?
Who's going to be there longer?
As we're
If he
kicking
owns it,
off.
it's his ball.
We're kicking off and we'll work through some of the comments. You've been busy during the half-time break. Should Celtic have made a substitution? I probably think it's a bit premature. We can see how we settle in at the first 10 minutes of the game and take it from there. But I'll be looking through some of the comments coming in. Archduke8199 on YouTube. If we sign Duffy, do we also have to sign someone who can cross a ball?
You will. Absolutely. I'll just bring Griffiths back.
Well, I think we're looking for competition out in the right, aren't we? Yeah.
But it's at this part of the game that a player like I mean, look at
That's
that.
a great ball.
That was excellent from the minute he got the ball there, Encham, and that's what he provides, you know. But you've got to keep this pressure on them because Celtic have come out the traps in the second half to try and get ahead. That's a great ball. I think he was trying to go for the second ball there.
Is that a save?
Aye, it's another excellent save, Paul.
Aye, he's looking good.
But this is far more positive from Celtic's perspective, and you've got to, with a left foot like Christie's, you've got to have a go from there. That's brilliant.
That's a great save.
Christie's good from it, just outside the box, isn't he?
That was just crying out for somebody to stick
Just
the
a
toe in
touch.
it. Yep.
Hopefully it's a better corner.
Excellent. That was an excellent corner. But it looks
To your first time.
looks as though that's straight off the training pitch because, I mean, that's 3 or 4 times this season we've seen that corner onto Julian, isn't it?
Yeah, he's often a spare man at the back, isn't he? But it's a bit.
Excellent save. So, Lawrence, do you think Celtic have been given a rocket at half time? They come out the traps flying at the moment, aren't they?
Well, do you want to touch on it? We were actually coming into the game more the last kind of 10 minutes of the first half, so I think it's maybe just a continuation on for there. Maybe the United are a bit, you know, maybe their legs are going because we've got 70% of the ball first half. So
Gary Doonan makes a good point on Facebook. He's suggesting that Big Eddie looks as though he's struggling a bit with a knock. If he was to come off, with one up front, could Klamala or Ayeti lead the line? That's the question. Could they lead the line, or would it be a formation change you'd be looking at?
I think I'm getting 2 up there.
I think 2 up would be better, but I think Yates led the line in the past. I don't know about Paddy's career, but I think he'd definitely be going with 2 up.
This is better from Celtic.
Yeah.
This has been much better from Celtic.
Oh, come on.
That was a shocker.
But I hope he can keep pinning them back. But what we have seen, and again, it's not paranoid Celtic fans talking here, but the refereeing at the moment has been fairly inconsistent. And even then, Christie took a dull one, and he didn't go down, but we didn't even get a free kick.
I think it's been consistent.
Consistently poor.
Well, consistent. Well, Carter Celtic player.
Yeah.
Not United.
Oh, wow.
I still got it.
Outrageous bit of skill. But I'll tell you what, this goalkeeper's, he's going to be tough to beat today, I think.
Yeah, it'll take something special to beat him, I think.
Get Nakamura on, yeah. Facebook, that's a comment for Facebook. Interesting enough, he's still playing.
Yeah.
Nakamura.
Last season, he was still banging away, wasn't he, in the G League?
Always,
40 is
I think
41.
He's kind of early 40s, and you speak to people. We were talking to Mark Wilson, and people will be booing and hissing at that because there's a lot of Celtic fans out there who don't like Mark Wilson. Yeah. But we interviewed him. He's a lovely guy, like really decent spud. And he was talking about Nakamura in terms of just not just the natural ability, Paul, but the work around his diet and conditioning, right. He says, was unbelievable. He would come into the training, and go and do warm-ups on bikes. Other players weren't doing that.
Yep.
And he would stay after and do practice, which a lot of the overseas players call practice, which is just ball work, additional ball work.
Come on.
Nakamura had all of that, and it's no surprise that he's still playing with, at the age of 40, 42 or whatever he may be. Which is still a young man. I'd like to get that one in early, Paul.
Yes.
Lucky to get away with that.
And we've got a wee question coming in from a friend of the podcast, Chaz, and he's asking, I didn't catch the question, but the answer is always Paul McStay. So that's fair enough, and I think anybody from a certain era would agree with that, Lawrence. But I mean, it goes back to that thing where it's a dying breed, isn't it? I mean, we're not going to see a Kieran Tierney doing what McStay did and staying at the same club forever.
We used to retire.
McStay was younger than a lot of people think. He was
He struggled with injuries.
Yeah.
It was an ankle injury,
That's
yeah.
right.
I think the season before he retired, it was his first red card as well, wasn't it?
Oh, who did he kick? Can you remember?
Oh, you're asking.
I'll give you a clue. It was against Dundee. He was a youngster. I think he was 18 at the time. Neil McCann. Got Paul McStay's
I
first.
like McStay even more now.
That was a red card worth it.
But he had also been dropped for the first time in his Celtic career by Tommy Burns as well, and he was suffering bad.
I think actually the two of them suffered with that one. I think the two of them struggled with that one.
Yeah.
I tell you, a player that suffered with his ankles, but Bobby Murdoch, but he suffered it through all his career, didn't he?
I know.
Yeah, I think, geez, if he'd been fit and had a good ankle, what would they have done?
What I love about Celtic fans is their sense of humour, Paul. There's always somebody who will lighten your day no matter what. And in the last week, some of the graphics and the songs that we've heard in relation to Rangers' kit, it has been unbelievable. It's incredible, eh? And you've got to laugh, and I don't like talking about them, and we very rarely do. But this isn't talking about them. This is giving the Celtic fans a wee shout out for their incredible sense of humour, Lawrence. Because I mean, I don't know if it comes hand in hand with being a Celtic fan, but they're great. They're absolutely superb with their wit.
I think when I was growing up, we weren't winning a lot, and we came out with the song "Always Looking the Bright Side of Life" when things were bad. Because we were able to laugh at ourselves, which I think is
Gave me a good grounding growing up in the 90s anyway, that's for sure.
Well, you better
Certainly
watch.
wasn't spoiled.
There'll be, honestly, you better watch. You'll be getting called a Celtic da any minute now for mentioning the 90s. Don't mention the 90s. That's what they keep telling us. James Congleton, who is commenting from YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe on there. Mince so far. So he's not mincing his words. Kelly game all over. So predictable and easy to play against.
I don't think it's Kelly.
Better second half, Celtic. Come on. I'm far more satisfied, and I'm not that satisfied, but I'm far more satisfied with this performance than the Kilmarnock game. And I can see enough in this game that we're going to break them down and score a goal, Paul. Quite early on after they equalised against Kilmarnock, I just thought, this is 1-1 written all over it.
Yep.
I don't feel the same here. Celtic will score. Celtic will definitely score. And but the biggest problem we're going to have, as well as the referee, is their goalkeepers having a cracking game.
Yep.
But United have got a habit of doing that, Lawrence, picking players from absolute obscurity, and they're absolute gems, and they've done it for years.
All decent goalkeepers as well.
Is he a signing by Mellon, or was he there before? Does anyone know? Did Mickey
I
Mellon
don't know.
We didn't have a Dundee United correspondent in the room at the moment, Lawrence, but someone online might be able to check Wikipedia quickly and let us know, where did the boy come from, because he's having a cracking game here. And Celtic again, I think Lennon's been pretty patient, but is that El Yunusi again?
Yeah.
Or is it Christie?
He's won it back.
Go on.
That's a great overlapping run. That's superb. And again, Edward, he's waiting for it to come down. Try to pick it out of the air. And it's at this point, I think Celtic have came out the traps.
Cracking touch,
well done, yep.
And you want something at the end of this from Frimpong. Excellent. Go down. Just go down.
Take a corner, yeah. Aye.
Is that cynical?
No, you're looking, you're in the box.
There's three men around them. Legs flying about.
Well, they get a free kick, 5 minutes ago for two Celtic players round one United. Yeah.
I've criticised Frimpong, so I've got to say I think I've been fairly impressed, particularly with his offensive work today. I think he's done well. That's another corner. I don't know how many corners we've had, and we've not even cleared the front post.
Some of the distribution's been poor, hasn't it? But, when the balls come out of these, we're just either giving it to him or it's out for a throw.
Stevie Friel, Excel.
Yep.
So, Francie dub LU, no argument in the captain debate, but the maestro was beautiful to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When was his peak? Did he peak in the centenary season? That's the question.
Maybe earlier, I don't know. He was phenomenal when he first came in.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose there's very few players that can hit that height yet. 16, 17 maybe?
He made his debut at 17. Lawrence. So by the time the centenary year comes around, he's been playing for a good 5 years. Scotland Player of the Year that season, if I remember correctly. And he was one of the guys who had a huge amount of caps at a young age, but then as he got older, they dried up a bit, I think the other player that I remember who looked as though for a spell that he would probably win more than Kenny Dalglish was Fletcher. He got 50 pretty quickly, didn't he? And then all the injuries came in for Darren Fletcher. But again, Celtic for me, they've came out and they've done pretty well in the second half here, but it still begs the question, El Yunusi, is he still a passenger here? Do we make that change now rather than wait till his usual hour in?
I'm not sure.
Even that, he can't take his man,
Yeah, if he's not going by him, the Butcher should never be with his foot in the ball, should he?
Raffaello Pietro, Christie's been okay in general, but his delivery from set pieces has been woeful. Got to agree with you there, I don't like criticising players, but the set pieces have been terrible today. We've had plenty of corners.
Yeah.
I think that's consistent though, with corners and Christie.
It is, and you've got to ask yourself, is he the only option, Paul? You've got to have somebody else in that team who can take a corner.
Surely Cham could hit one.
Yeah, you think.
But El Yunusi's not done enough for me, so hopefully he can craft something out, because if not, I think he's the favourite to be hooked, isn't he?
Well,
It's an excellent ball. Should he have dragged it back? I know that it's his favoured foot. It's a first time on the right foot, definitely. But it's good that we've managed to cut them open a few times in the second half, Lawrence.
Yeah.
That's promising.
they're getting deeper.
Aye, they definitely are. Yep. And El Yunusi did okay there, but I'd probably still take him off, to be fair. I think it's his only contribution to the game has been in the build up to that there. Facebook user from Facebook, thank you for your comment. We need two up top for a bit more penetration. It's the age old argument, though, you might not even have two up top, but you can still push your number 10 further upfield, so you can have two up front and adapt with the personnel we've got, Lawrence.
Aye, definitely. During the game, you want to have the ability they changed formations though. Yeah, it was
poor.
You know, Christie can easily push up as the second man.
I think he'll be looking to make a substitution probably in 3 minutes, because an hour looks like a good time to make that. Watch Celtic breaking up and scoring here. And I think Encham, I've been shouting for Encham to get more game time. You've been impressed with him, Paul?
I think he's looked controlled. I think he's looked pretty solid. And a couple of crosses in the box as well.
And the thing with Christie, you know, it could just be that he's having an off day with it. I know his distribution generally is good, but
How's that not free? You know,
all day long. The refereeing's been poor
He's
today.
never getting caught.
But he's just ignored it. It's right in front of him,
Yeah.
Paul. He's just ignored it, you know.
where's the assistant ref as well though? You know, one of them's got to see it. It's kind of obviously you're not seeing the full part. We don't know if the assistant ref flag, but you're.
Celtic playing right across their own goal there. 4 passes to move 20 yards. But that's what I like about Aya. When he picks the ball up, he can get you 60 yards, you know.
Gallops up the field.
He does. El Yunusi hopefully can make more of a contribution. That's the wrong ball. It's the wrong ball. But they're just trying to space it. Well done, Taylor. It's more promising. It's been more of Celtic, far more promising in the second half. And it's at that point, Paul, you've got to ask a question. Do you just continue with this because it looks as though we're going to get the breakthrough, rather than make that
Probably
change?
he's thinking of.
Yeah.
Again, I'm still El Yunusi, I think, should be coming off, getting somebody up top.
Change.
No, it's not us.
Wee message coming in from Ken Walsh. Hello, Ken. I hope you're doing well over in Ireland, and we can see you during the season at some point over for a game. Might get a pint in Malone's at some stage. He's telling us that Stokes is signed for Livingston. What do you make of that? Tony Stokes. It's good to get him back in the Scottish game.
Scotland,
Aye.
What age is he?
32.
It's definitely better than EK. It was rumoured, isn't it?
East Kilbride have spent quite a bit of money, Lawrence, haven't they? They've brought in quite a few players of a good standard. And I mean, I would have been saddened because I just think he's a top league player, Stokesy.
Yeah.
You know, you look at his international career, the boy should have won far more caps. And I think he could cross the ball as well.
He saw some pulling.
Was that Perroy?
It's against a United player
Oh no, it's a free kick.
on the edge of the
Continues
box.
into the box.
That's a penalty then, surely.
Continues into the box. It's a pen.
I think he's given a pen. Has he?
Wow.
No, he's gave it in favour of Dundee United. Has he? Yeah. It could have went either way actually, but he's chose the.
I'd be surprised.
The obvious route.
We're watching that. We're watching this game with the sound down, right? And anybody with a pair of eyes would have said that was going the other way, Paul.
Yeah. No,
But, I mean,
I can't see how that goes the other way.
The standard of refereeing in this game has been absolutely pathetic, I've got to say. And I'm no one for trying to use excuses for Celtic not winning the game at the moment, but that referee's not fit for purpose. He's
No,
dreadful.
he's not. No.
He's absolutely dreadful. And it's blatant, because this is happening right in front of him.
The one on Christie, especially over this side of the back over on the left hand side, you were like, you just,
Yeah.
you thought, you know, you can't give any other
Man's just
decision.
waiting on it. He's just not at it today.
So we'll keep working through our comments that are coming through thick and fast on the social media. Thank you all for joining us. East End Boy 8 is commenting via Twitter. So flat in the first half, just wish we'd look at 3-5-2 again.
Where's the free kick?
Need
That was
more,
cracking with
need
Cham.
more in the
The
midfield.
opportunity this guy's given us.
What has Cham done wrong there? You're looking at it and going,
Like Forrest.
Francie, is
Right,
it
so
Francie
who-
W's called it right?
He's called it right. Who's coming off? El Yunusi.
Got to be.
El Yunusi off for Forrest. Although, in the 2 attacks he's been involved in, I think El Yunusi's done okay. But we're up against it here, because if that was to happen in the other box, that's gone Dundee United's way.
Why?
Yeah.
Is that, should there been a card there?
El Yunusi for Forrest, yes. Disappointed in the big fella, because I thought he was back onto a game on Tuesday night, but he's been fairly ineffective today. I hope Jamesy boy gets a lot of stick, doesn't he? You know, when you compare him to the likes of Tierney. Tierney very rarely got any stick.
Yeah.
Forrest has been with us for his entire career, and it's likely that he will be a one club man But he seems to get the brunt end of all the stick from the Celtic fans.
I think it could be the position.
It's
when
the
this could be
position
one
he's in.
goal.
That is a position.
Keep us
Right, let's see
don't
what
know if
we're
we should-
up,
I think
open
we
up.
should give a shout there, but it was decent, wasn't it?
I've got to be screaming for that.
Follower Celtic was shouting for Forrest to come on and Cham to come off. The speed's troubling United and Cham way too slow. I think he's orchestrated it pretty well.
No, I think that. I don't
I think
agree
he's
with
orchestrated it pretty well. Is there an opportunity, asks Barca Boy via Twitter, for the Luca Connell to be given a chance due to his creative ability? Haven't seen enough
I
of
haven't seen
him.
enough. I wouldn't know.
I know he's a creative type player, but I haven't seen enough of him, I've got to say, Barca Boy. He would definitely be a good option on the bench. You look at, there's a couple of youngsters on the bench today in Harper and McElroy. So,
Referee.
right, so what's the ref going to do here?
You've got to card him, ref.
Is he just going to ignore it? He's not carried him, is he?
No.
So,
He was not attempting the ball, is that? It's the ball's away.
They're getting deeper and deeper, aren't they?
Aye.
and look how many men are behind the ball now, you know. But
That's excellent.
They're right backs.
I think Gencham has been excellent, to be fair.
I think they're right back struggling.
What is
What's
it
this?
now?
We're on the attack.
Ugh.
Any opportunity, you know what I mean? Right, so what was I saying before about not subscribing to the fact that they're all against us? That referee is dreadful, Paul. He's absolutely shocking.
Chip off full block.
Aye, he definitely is. Keep the comments coming
What's he
in.
given a bounce ball? What's he given? Is he?
He's given a bounce ball. That's outrageous.
Remedy.
We've got a comment coming in via YouTube from Alex Hayden, who reckons that Greg Taylor needs replaced. He is bang average. I think he's done okay this season.
I think he's a good backup.
Yeah. Would you buy a first choice or would you buy a backup
I'd
to
buy
Taylor?
a first choice.
A first choice and use Taylor as a backup.
I think somebody more
Maybe
experienced for this season.
that's a solid defender. If we play 3-5-2, maybe Taylor can fit in and play in that. I think we need a solid, stronger defender.
Fair play to Encham. That was we were on the attack when we lost that ball there, so you can't complain about that, can you? Well done to Dundee United for allowing it as well. Because we've seen, remember Motherwell? Remember when they went on the attack? Yeah. James Congleton points out that the young boy for them looked good, 17 years of age. Celtic are getting better, goals are coming. I agree with you. I think we've made the change that we had to make in taking off El Yunusi for Forest. And the goal will come. We need to be patient. And we're up against a referee as well who is it's having a typical performance, I think I could describe it as. Predictable performance. But, you know, if you need to get into a scrap, then Scott Brown's your man.
Yes, yeah.
65% possession in the second half. It's been a dominant second half for Celtic so far.
Decent ball. Oh,
Did the linesman raise his flag there, Lawrence? Did he try and call offside?
I think. Yep. Is he?
It's not
He's a
offside.
mile
He's
on.
on.
He's a mile on, eh?
Ryan Lynch with the pit up.
I'm just preempting it, that's all. If the ball was in the net, it's a kind of day we're having.
He was hoping for it.
Any other changes you would make? I would be patient at this stage. I think Celtic are making progress. I'm going to get the breakthrough, so I would be quite happy to continue as is at the moment. I think we'll get a goal.
I think if
Other than
anything
going-
happens, he'll take off one of the full-backs and put
Yeah.
a striker on.
There's a few comments coming in relation to the performance of Christie, but I think that's just been highlighted by the corners as much as anything else. Sean Ross, Christie needs dropped. Who would replace Christie though?
Cham.
Jam.
But push Kilmark for the forward.
Dundee United are playing a game across the back there that's pretty risky, you know. I don't know if they've got the personnel to pull that off if Celtic break away.
Edinburgh's not pressing.
I think that's one of the biggest criticisms of Edouard by our mutual friend in relation to his performances is the work rate. But someone made the point, Paul, that, you know, and it might be something that they're coached in the academies in France, that they only exert the energy when necessary.
Dembele, he certainly threw himself about.
And we're used to a combative nature of someone giving, 100% throughout the entire game. Excellent.
Oh, he's going for a Celtic jersey.
Can he be caught in the break here?
That's Frimpong. Is he anywhere near coming back? Get a decent touch here, didn't he?
Oh, well done, Barkas.
The Frimpong was only just back.
Was that
Only
just
second
getting
back.
back? That's the issue.
You're like,
That's the issue with having these overlapping fullbacks. The two of them are bombing on all the time, aren't they? But I mean, people calling for Enchant to come off. I think he's orchestrated the game.
I don't. I think he should be staying on. I'm quite happy with that.
see what Jamesy does with his ball.
I said you can't ask for too much more. He's got the ball in the area there, Lawrence. You know.
Aye, Frimpong's picked it up.
But it's all Celtic. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we made the breakthrough. Bit too much there.
The ref's going to give that.
He's going to give that all day long.
He's not done too much wrong there, is he? You're looking and going,
This would be, for me, looking at the disappointment of the Rugby Park game. I'm not going to say this is a must-win. We're only 3 games in. But you've got to win this when you look at the possession. Celtic have had the domination of the possession, most of the attack and play.
Yeah.
I'd be hugely disappointed if we didn't make the breakthrough here. So we're almost 70 minutes into the game, and it's all Celtic really. But my biggest concern is A, their keeper's having a blinder, and B, the referee's having a shocker.
it's a decent ball, isn't it? Keep it in. You'd expect to leave Frimpong and keep it in there, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
He's good enough to.
Francie W telling us that United's keeper is Swiss. Well, he's looked good today. I don't know if that's a one-off or if he's been impressive since he's come in, but I would certainly be keeping an eye on him. Francie W talking Castori, they had Roof's name spelt wrong today. Hilarious.
Listen, the question is, did they get Castori spelled right?
The banter years continue. Gary Doonan, this keeper is having the game of his life. That's one of my biggest worries, Gary. That and this referee, who's having probably a typically one-sided game, because, these are the issues you face if you're going for the historic 10. It could, this could be nothing each with a minute to go.
Yeah.
And that incident that we weren't quite shouting for a penalty. If that happens in our box, Paul, it's going one way.
It's going one way, yeah.
Yeah.
So
we need to get a goal, we really do, and I think it'll open up even more once we do. But there's not much to criticise for me in terms of the personnel. I don't think anybody other than El Yunusi had a bad game. I don't think anybody's had a bad game other than El Yunusi. And he's been subbed as a result of it, so...
He's been quiet, but he just needs a...
He's not playing a yard. He's not playing well at all. Would you take him off? That's a question.
Probably not. He put something up beside him.
I think the other two are too much in on the to take Eddie off just now, aren't they?
He put something up with him.
You've got a Yeti struggling for match fitness, and Klamala, who...
Very direct.
He is.
Shout.
He is pretty direct, yeah.
It looks quick, but
Yeah.
put them in a bit of trouble, isn't it?
I mean, the other subs that we've got is, obviously we've got Sorrow, who I don't think, I can't see a player in there I would take off for Sorrow at this moment in time. Mohammed only have necessary and Ayer only have necessary at the back, but everything is going in Dundee United's favour. Everything.
Oh, he's getting it.
We've got a chance to
lose it. Aye. You might lose that one, just take it again.
Take it again, lads, eh?
Bit of time wasting. Come on. Oh well.
Oh, it's a
There
Yeti.
you go. And Dyer.
Oh, a double sub. Aye, for Frimpong, perhaps.
Could be, yeah, could be a good shout.
Three at the back.
Looks like it could be doing that.
You still get the 5 subs? Still?
4.
4?
Yeah. 4 left.
And they're getting deeper and deeper on there.
I know it's up to us to break them through or break them down. That was unlucky.
That's a good ball. He's offside.
Oh, unlucky. That was good. Made space well there.
Yeah. That's where he's good on the left hand side for cutting in.
Okay, who's coming off?
Interesting to see. What do you think?
I've no idea. Frimpong might be one, I think.
Oh, Taylor.
Taylor, right, okay.
Jam.
Wow.
I don't get that. Don't get that one at all.
Nope. Unless he's going to put higher
I
up.
I took Brown off before. And Cham off. Taylor off as well.
I'm surprised that Njama, I thought he was orchestrating.
Yeah,
to be fair.
I'm surprised,
I'd
yeah.
have taken Brown off at the end of the two.
It's maybe just a change of formation then.
So Lawrence are back.
Indeed, yeah. I was hoping they'd score when I went to the toilet. You know, I used to have all the back.
Should have
Went to the toilet.
Well, it's an interesting pair of substitutions, to be fair. I mean,
Where's the free kick there, ref? Surely he's got his hands all over him, hasn't he?
and I think that just shows that Lennon, going back to my point there, you've got to get the 3 points up here. You can't have 2 stalemates in a row. You've got to get the 3 points.
Frimpong's still in.
No, Frimpong's on. Unless Cham went for a drink.
He's not one of the players that does that, allegedly. It's, yeah. I guess it's more cover at the back, allows us, you know, he's got it's proper quick to the back, isn't it, for cover?
Aye.
It's at that stage as well. 15 minutes to go, and Lennon's thrown on the new striker, and I think it goes back to the situation, Lawrence, where we really need to win this game. We need to win it. I mean, we can't be dropping another 2 points against Dundee United.
Playing away from home.
I know.
Dropping more points.
Even though I don't think it's been a particularly
scoring.
bad performance. Yep.
It's funny, I think the level of consistency over the last few seasons, but it's, 20 years ago you'd get away with draws here and there. Just now you just don't, the amount of, especially early part of the season, you've got to be winning every game now.
You do, and also due to the fact, Lawrence, that we're two games behind, that's when that becomes a factor if other clubs are racking up points because we've not been playing. But when the games are played that we can play, you've got to win them.
It's a strange one, obviously we were prevented from playing 2 games for what Bolly done, and now they're talking about punishing Celtic. You go, well, didn't you punish us before? Because you didn't allow us to play. Kelly were allowed to play, they were on the same park as Bolly.
Yeah.
So it's obviously not for that reason. So was it a punishment that not allowing us to play? And if it was, now they're now talking about points. You're like,
it's just the people that are going on about points deductions are desperate, Lawrence. They're desperate. Adrian Durham, for example, just a desperado. They're just ravenous, aren't they? They would love Celtic to be deducted points for that.
I mean, what's the charge game into disrepute? And when you think what happened through the summer, that charge hasn't been levelled against clubs that could have been definitely brought into disrepute. So much so that the SPFL had to get lawyers involved, but no charge.
Right, come on now, Celtic. Another Ryan Christie corner.
Keeper's too clean.
Got to challenge him there. Got to challenge the keeper there.
Far too close that time though.
Yeah, isn't it? It's You're more confident than me that I was making a keeper.
It's moments like that, though, Paul. It's moments like that when you're more or less dominating a game, you know, and it's just like you're on a knife edge. You're on a knife edge.
One moment of madness.
And I'm watching this at nothing each, thinking to myself, it definitely is all Celtic.
Right, ref,
It's right in front of you. He's not even thinking about a booking there. Not even thinking about a
The thing
booking.
is, he's beaten. We've got them turned.
Go on. Look how tight that is.
It's an opportunity like that, you know, from the likes of McGregor that we're going to actually get a goal here, because look at the amount of bodies behind the ball there. And McGregor knows that.
Yeah, he knows
he's trying to get his body shape right, Lawrence, before he takes that, you know. But we've got the players that can score for that distance.
He's your worldie, is Calmac.
Yeah.
2-1.
Yes.
both feet, isn't he? He played further forward when he was down at loan at Notts County, didn't he?
I love them down there. Love
I think
them.
we waste him sometimes playing him, not playing him in that position.
Was he not the top goal scorer down there?
For Notts, definitely. I don't know about in the league, but definitely for Notts.
But we've got the personnel that can score from distance. You know, when you look at Christie, McGregor, even Beaton, dare I say.
Aye. Do you think this is where Mellon's telling his team to push for the win? Now, you know, with 12 minutes to go, are they going to open up even more?
No, that's a good point, because I mean, you've seen that breakaway there, Lawrence. Yeah, you know, and it if they do that, then it could open up for Celtic. So, what was the tactical change then, Paul, with the substitutions? 2 up top.
3 at the back, I think.
Yeah.
3 at the back, 2 up top.
And pushing up Frimpong. More of a
He'll go into
right-sided.
bomb up the right now.
He was very much playing on instinct before, but it's almost as if he's really thinking about his game and he's cutting back a wee bit, isn't he?
Yes, he reined it in.
I think that some players are getting more familiar with him as well. You know, they'll have watched him a bit. He was completely unknown, was he?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, it's unless I've got tapes of Man City youths.
But he is getting booted. He's getting there are 2 men up on him.
Brown.
But it's all men behind the ball here. You know, Celtic are it's possession, but they're just looking for that killer pass.
We need to show a bit of quality.
The driver, yep, that's what he's good at, Lawrence. Big ire.
And again,
that's a free kick right in front of him. Right in front of him, and that's a card, surely.
Is that their first card with 11 minutes to go? 10 minutes to go?
Would surprise me. That's blatant.
Steady territory, innit?
You know, on a day like today, with the referee and that goalkeeper having the game of his life as well,
French ideal, not this.
it's something like this that we're actually needing, Paul, to make the breakthrough. And hopefully, French Eddie's the man to do it. Otherwise, it's going to be a very nervy last 10 minutes of this game, Paul, I'll tell you.
So 10. Surely 10 would be further back level with a penalty spot, wouldn't it?
So 11 Dundee United men in the box.
One outside it.
Aye, one outside it wearing black. Aye, you're right. But yeah, frustrating. I don't think they've parked the bus as much as Kilmarnock, Paul. I mean, they have.
Getting deeper and deeper now.
Yeah.
That ball looked a bit close to me. What's the edge of the D? Is that 22?
Would you think the wall was too close there?
Aye, I think it's been back kind of level with penalty spot.
Oh, this would definitely feel like a massive.
Tic-tac-toe steps, was it? With Alan?
Aye.
Aye.
That's the way my dad showed me.
So, if you look at the actual performance for the first 80 odd minutes, I mean, how would you sum that up, Paul, from Celtic?
Final third, just that lack of quality, I think. And again, corners, cross into the box, not finding a man.
How many corners have we had?
Oh, keeper.
That's
That's
a
a
bit of
save,
a
isn't it?
camera save, that one.
Oh, yes!
Scrappy.
He's off the mark. He's off the mark.
We'll take it. That was brilliant. Well
That's a
done.
brilliant substitution.
That was brilliant.
Inspired.
But I'll tell you, I mean, again, what I said with that goalkeeper.
You can go again.
That's,
that.
I think it's one for the cameras there, really. Should have done better with that, to be honest.
You used to push it further out.
It should have been away.
Oh, excellent. I'm delighted with that. I'm delighted with that. You're actually right. And then he comes out and gets into a bit of a kerfuffle with his defender. So you're right.
So, he started it.
Yeah. Decent knockback by him, wasn't it? He's quick enough on it.
We're just waiting for the. There's only one. What's his first name? Albiana Jetty. Well done, son. That's an important goal because we were, you're looking at
the squeaky bum time.
It was, I've got to admit, Lawrence, it was getting to that stage because I'm just looking at their goalkeeper having such a great game. Even though I agree with you, Paul, he should have done better with that. It looked good at the time, and the referee, it's on a knife edge if something happens, and he's got a call to make.
You think they might have a chance because they've just got
Sure,
out. There's nothing to lose now.
Go on, you've got legs on him. Keep going. Keep going. You slowed that down too much there, didn't you?
Well done. Right.
With that ref, I was just wondering who was going to get it to.
We've had a fantastic audience actually throughout the match day live with a Celtic State of Mind. Loads of comments coming in from Facebook, Twitter and YouTube, and I think everybody enjoyed that as much as we did going by the comments. So obviously, it's been all Celtic, but it was one of the frustrating afternoons so far, and I'm hoping that we actually get a second goal just so that the nerves can settle down a wee bit,
I would have thought this is a decent angle to get the ball in, but they're taking it short. Where are we going for here?
It's not like we're in the last minute, Lawrence.
You've got 5 minutes. They've just lost a goal. They're going to be a bit unsettled.
And Lenny was delighted as well. You see his reaction there when Yeti scored. So good on him. And it's all about adapting that personnel to suit the opposition. So it's worked out well so far.
Take that now.
That boy's going at some pace.
Yeah, should have taken it earlier up there. Should have taken him on the halfway line.
Julian hasn't figured out that the ref's not giving us anything yet.
I think he's maybe saying, to the boys in the right, you should have taken action and got that far through it. If it was a free kick in the halfway line, you're happy.
Dundee United are applying a wee bit of pressure now, so hopefully Celtic can.
Up.
Yeah, goalkeeper's ball.
Oh.
Keeper obviously judged it well.
Who it was doing.
Even if we didn't.
Something under control there.
Scott Brown book just for being Scott Brown.
Obviously celebrating or something, isn't it? It's
Relations under or something.
Klamala for Eddie.
Aye.
Listen, get Paddy run.
There was points of last season though, Lawrence, when Edouard needed a break and we didn't have Griffiths, to step in.
Yeah.
Bio, was never going to do the job. And he played through that, didn't he? And he actually looked tired quite a lot of the games.
He was playing a lot for French under 21 as well.
He's got loads of caps, hasn't he? He's got loads of caps for the underage teams.
He was on the strikers for a long time. By the time of the year last year.
But it's good at a stage like this, to give him the rest, to take Edward off. I think Klamala, I know, I'm not convinced. I've maybe not seen enough of him, Paul, but I don't think he's going to be second or even third choice striker at Celtic Park.
Do we have any Polish league experts that can tell us what to expect from him? Or?
You're sometimes surprised, Lawrence. We draw a Hungarian team in the Champions League and we've got a Hungarian football correspondent on the podcast during the week who contributes to a Celtic State of Mind. So we may well have some Polish football experts out there, you never know. But I had the audacity, Paul, just last week to remark on the 4 of the guys that we've offloaded in the pre-season. And it was, it came to just under £8 million and how it was a waste of money, basically, Jack Hendry, Kouassi, Sved and Bio.
Yeah.
For the amount of games that they've actually played. And quite a lot of Celtic fans became quite defensive, seeing it as I was criticising the club. But you know, if your club spends £8 million on those 4 boys,
Yeah.
and that's the return, then I think you're within your rights to be
So
critical.
Henry, Bio,
Sved.
Sved and Kouassi,
all Rodgers.
all signings for Rodgers, yeah.
I thought his record was shocking.
It was terrible.
Simonovic as well.
Record was
Terrible.
shocking.
Well, we didn't see much of Shred, and I think Roger said at the time it wasn't his signing, but maybe we're suffering because there's no reserve league. Because these guys, you get a better look at them.
Yeah.
You know, they're either first team or they're nowhere. Whereas now, it's kind of...
You're right, Lawrence. I don't think it helps players like Roger either not to play for 12 months at a time or whatever. You've got to get games.
Well,
if you're in that
deserved
development...
his merits, definitely.
Oh, yeah. Interesting that Dembele's not on the bench today.
Yeah, but the
Caramichael.
rumours going about...
There are, aren't there?
Yeah,
What's the rumours, Lawrence?
it's... Well, transfer request in. I don't know if it's correct or not, but you're looking good. But he must be another one that's feeling that, well, I'm not going to the first team, there's no reserve league. Where do I develop?
Aye.
You know, he's just seemed to...
That's
He's
why we're losing these
contemporaries
guys
leaving, go to
to
Bayern Munich.
Germany. Yeah.
And they'll be paying him, I suppose, decent money over there, more than we'll be paying, that's for sure.
Eddie Cantwell, thank you for your comment via Facebook. Thoughts on Brown today? I've caught the second half. So when you look at the game, I think Brown's played pretty well.
I think it's been good. Yep.
At no point did I think...
Usual.
Yep.
Just
At no point did I think, who come? I could see it coming against Kilmarnock, Paul, with
I
Scott
would have
Brown.
preferred Brown going off to Cham, I think, just to keep the pace going.
Yeah.
But I think he's in a decent game.
I was surprised when Cham came off. I thought he played really well. One of the star performers for me. And Forrest has come in and done a job as well. Far more effective than El Yunusi.
Maybe he thinks Cham's going to retire because he's not that many minutes, or
Possibly, yeah.
it's...
Right, so how much injury time are we going to get? 7 or 8 minutes?
There's a game the other week that got 5 minutes in this league that no one could see where the 5 came from. Class, Brown. That's what you want for Brown, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, he knows what he's doing. That's
Yeah.
a professional. Knows what he's doing. He's like, yeah, I'll take the fill from you, nice and easy. Well, the rest won't hurry up now.
Or somebody got a touchy cramp?
Have you seen the ref asking United to hurry up during the game?
It's another 3 minutes injury time on.
And again, it's got to be said, I think Beaton has been pretty composed. Nothing fancy.
It's been quite an easy game.
It's the two big centre halves, I think.
It has, hasn't it? Oh, well played.
Ref, he's got his hands on him.
Oh, this will be a free
Jeez.
kick.
Ajay done so well there as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, we didn't even get the free kick for it.
The ref knows a free kick, that's only 30 seconds gone, you know what I mean? It's at least...
Hard fought victory if we should have only 3 minutes added on, Paul. So,
What we had, bounce ball, and
no much else that I can think of.
Did he keep it in?
I caught the linesman did.
Forrest reckons it's our ball.
It's United, so there's a... Is it? It's a game.
It's been great, actually, the comments coming in from Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. So many that we can never get through every single one of them, but we do try and get most of the points across. And a lot of the time they just start discussing it amongst themselves, so that's fine as well.
Stuck a player right, the keeper here. Wonder if the ref's going to see any problems with it.
But we're not over the line just yet.
It's definitely beating the keeper here.
Oh, don't.
It's a good touch.
Well done.
That's nice. Just take it to flag.
Right,
Across.
direct. There's a go. There you go, there you go.
Oh, he got it connection.
You've got to score that. You've got to score that, James. What a run, though, for Forrest, like, you know. What a run.
Have the 10 out of the flag. Minute and a half to go. Oh, they look good 2-0, but you get a minute and a half to go, you're going to waste another minute down there, aren't you?
That was a good opportunity, though.
Jason Christie is making a point about Karamoko Dembele, the 17-year-old prodigy. Dembele for me doesn't play because we are going for 10 in a row and there's no room for mistakes. If Lennon had him at Hibs, Dembele would have played. What's your thoughts? I agree to a certain extent. I agree with
Celtic,
that.
there's no room for mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think we'll be more consistent than any other period of time. the number of wins, the number, we dropped so few points that.
What's your thoughts on like the League Cup? What have you this season? We've done.
Three, maybe four trebles.
I'm greedy. I want 5 trebles in a row, Paul.
That's good.
We had that discussion.
Get the youngsters out,
It's a
but
card all day, isn't it?
It's a good opportunity to do that, Paul. Maybe with the League Cup
He's given the
to
card
get the youngsters out.
He's given the card with 30 seconds to go. It's cynical there. No attempt to play the ball. He's just taking a man. Is that red?
going
I
away for goal.
think there was two players coming in the back of him. So
Well, it's not so much last man. It's just there's no attempt to play the ball. It's just a kick at him. You're like.
But it's an interesting point with the focus on 10 in a row. Do you then strip back some of the cup competitions? We were looking at the Copenhagen game against Man U and thinking, we should have got through against Copenhagen. But then it would have been a headache to have even more European games this season.
Squad's not as strong as it was. Numbers wise, the quality's still there, but I think numbers wise it's not strong. So
We've lost a bit of versatility, especially Johnny
Johnny
Hayes could
Hayes.
cover a number of positions for us, and
That was excellent. That was excellent
That's
from
nice.
James Forrest.
Well
And
done.
by the way, that's an excellent 3 points. Brilliant, hard fought, excellent. Man of the match, guys.
I've got with Cham. I thought Cham was
good,
until he
yeah.
subbed. Although he gets subbed, I thought he was controlling it for us.
I agree with you. I
tidy, he
think
was.
in Cham, my man of the match. I was impressed with their goalie. I thought the referee was absolutely abysmal. But that's a hard fought win up there.
It's nice for AJ to get off the mark, isn't it? It's.
I was more impressed with Dundee
confidence
United
boost of
than Kilmarnock. I thought Dundee United.
They came out to play football, didn't they?
Yeah,
that. First half especially was a lot more open.
Aye. I think they were maybe a bit tired because we had 70% of the ball.
Yeah.
Second half, I don't think they could keep the pace up.
look at that. I love all that. Brilliant. Ayeti, excellent. That's a good victory. An excellent victory, in fact. And let's take a wee bit more focus on some of the comments coming in from YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. It's always good to hear your thoughts. Keep them coming. Francie Dub LU 3 points, thankfully, but need big improvements at away games. I think there's going to be a lot of days like today.
And I think there always is, and I think we do grind results out. That's, we'd like to win every game, 2 or 3, but I think that Tannadice has always been a hard place to go.
We've started quite slowly a lot the past few seasons though.
Aye.
A couple of daft draws and then we gradually get into it.
I think Ferguson talks about in one of his books, you've got to get your team, make sure they're flying by the end of the season. If you're flying at the beginning and then you tail off like some teams do, you're tailing off at kind of the wrong time.
Yeah.
That's interesting because there was quite a few seasons, Lawrence, where they were nowhere. Man United, and obviously they won the league. And it's interesting. Keep your comments coming in. Who was your man of the match? I think in the studio today we've gone for Olivier and Cham, even though he was brought off tactically, and we went on to win the game.
Was it either Cham or the Dundee United keeper?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
he
could say that keeper had half a dozen saves.
He had a good game.
The other day,
that's right. Yeah.
he definitely did. Gary Doonan, was that Beckenbauer or Near Beaton?
but he always strolls. It's just there was no mistakes today. But he's so
near Beaton.
dependable for us, isn't it? Near Beaton is so dependable for us. He never lets it. He's not one that goes to the papers more and he's not playing.
Doesn't let you down, yeah.
We brought a number of good players from Man City, haven't we? Can we think of anyone that's... Arzani got a bad injury, but what we saw him look good. Charm.
Is he went back?
He's back as he's flown over, yeah.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
I thought, Lawrence, the one disappointment I did have was John Guidetti. I thought he was going to be an excellent striker for
Started on
Celtic.
fire.
He was brilliant.
But
He
I
was
think it was
brilliant.
his choice when he wasn't staying. I think that was it.
Lost interest in it.
Well, I think we lost. He didn't start every game after that. We knew he was moving, and we're like, right.
How's Chris Boyd's face now? Is he still as happy?
He had a big cheesy grin on at half time, so that'll be interesting to see. We'll still be live for another 15 minutes or so. The match day preview, in match and review is all encompassing. We've been on the air for a couple of hours. You might have seen me sneaking behind Paul to get some water from that fridge. I thought I was doing it conspicuously, but hey, there you go. And keep the comments coming in. Joe Porter, thanks for joining us all day, Joe, via YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe on there and we'll keep you updated with future broadcasts. Celtic always find a way to win. I hope that is key this season. I'd be happy to win like that. away from home a dozen times this season. You know, as long as you get the 3 points.
Points on the Mars. Bit early for the goal, mind you know, it's so late.
Oh, we've got a record of scoring late goals against Dundee United, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's more 2-1 though, with late goals.
Yeah, that's right.
Is a record.
I know.
What was it, Andy Tolman with Pierre at Celtic Park?
I remember that,
Was it
yes.
last minute we scored 2, then 88. A couple of late goals against them. 85.
85 McGarvey and Proven.
territory.
I'm sure you know the history.
I remember.
I've seen the videos.
Oh yeah, I remember 85 because my dad lost his samba when we scored the winner,
Alright.
and the crowd came in with one shoe on. Right,
Back to Fife with one shoe.
back to Fife with
He
one
wasn't
samba.
walking, was he?
I know, but he was still wearing the other one.
All dads will sambas.
Like, are you ever going to find this samba? I don't think so. Gary Doonan, another great plan B by Lennon. Forrest and Ajeti inspired subs. Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I thought it was an excellent move by Lennon. You've got to give him the credit for that. And we'll keep the comments coming in.
I think Forrest better on the right or the left. See, cutting in the left, I quite like that.
Aye, he opens it up more,
Really
doesn't he?
strong right side.
She went into 3-5-2, didn't he? 'Cause
Yeah.
You know, like,
I think with Forrest coming on against a tired team, he seems to, you know, he's just got that speed and the skill that against a tired defender, it must be a nightmare for them. You know, we'd what 70%, 73% first half, second half when they put up stats it was 61%. So that team had to be knackered. They were sitting for deeper. You see James Forrest come on, you must be going, right, wait a minute. And if he's, you know, when he's up against that right back that was getting a torturous time off first half. No, it's,
The only disappointment for Forrest was he probably should have connected with that chance at the end there. That would have been a superb goal. James,
Slide and top it.
he was having a good game, that's for sure, Lawrence. He was having a good game. James Congleton, wins like that wins your titles, it's true.
Yep.
You know, you look back on that game at Tannadice and it is wins like that. And Eddie Cantwell, welcome back via Facebook, Eddie. Made that hard for ourselves, I think. It was one of the games, you know, it was all Celtic. And, you know, with the referee having the performance that he had, you know, at the end there, it was getting pretty tense. So fair play to Ayeti. It looks as though he enjoyed it as well.
He did.
yeah, after his time at West Ham, that's got to really spark him with his confidence, hasn't it? He's off to a good start.
Yeah.
Nobody's worried about him now, are they? After the kind of touches in the ball there, you'd be happy enough if we started.
No, I think
That'll boost his confidence big time going into the next game anyway.
Absolutely. You know, that often happens when a player's had a poor spell at a club. They've got that fire in their belly to do well, you know. And
Chris Sutton,
We seem to do that
Yeah.
with players, don't we?
aye, Big Chris.
That's right.
absolutely, I mean, there was a point, you know, golden boot winner, English cap, he could have signed for just about anybody. And then 1 year at Chelsea, and his transfer value halves. Goes for 12 million to 6 million, you know.
Was it
He
Beef
slaughters
Cap he got?
himself for that year though. It's quite funny when he talks about his Chelsea year. He's hopeless.
He describes the team as World Cup winners. He couldn't fail, but he failed.
Was it a B cap you got?
He got a full cap.
Was it full cap?
Yeah, full cap, and
Did they refuse to his B cap?
That's
then
right.
The second time, right?
That's right.
Did Thompson get a B cap?
he got a full cap as well.
Did he get a full cap, did he?
Aye.
He did, aye. You know, Thompson was the first ever Celtic player to win an England cap whilst playing for Celtic.
So it was after he scored against Rangers, was it not? Cracker, Frop, shooting in towards the Celtic end. Obviously from the left hand side, bang.
And he still can't get his Twitter account verified. He can't
Yeah,
get
what's
it
the
to
Said
Twitter.
half about that, didn't
I
he,
know,
last
it's 2.5.
night?
He's going to leave.
I reckon like Sutton, Hearts and everybody's on Twitter. Don't verify it.
I know.
Yeah.
Keep winding him up.
A Scotsman in Asia via YouTube. Who would Paul sign? Well, there's two Pauls in the room, so I'm going to ask you first, Paul. Who would you sign for Celtic?
Who would I sign for Celtic?
Yeah. Do you still think we need to strengthen centre
Centre
back?
back, left back.
Left back.
Definitely, yeah.
I don't. Well, Duffy's kind of fits the bill we're looking for. That kind of big hard. I don't know if he's left sided or not, because we need a left sided centre back.
Yeah.
I think we need a balance.
And a left back.
A left-footed centre back more so than
Yeah.
somebody who can play left sided.
Yeah.
For the balance. I think a boy Baker for the PSG that's rumoured he looks pretty decent on the left hand side.
I don't know. No.
Are you surprised?
Probably. But you know, maybe hopefully a loan option to buy like Eddie.
About 2 American boys we've got, the 2 full-backs.
It's a strange one, isn't it? It's Perez and Gutman.
Gutman.
So doing well in the States, one of them's full back. But would he get a work permit? I don't know. Is that why one of them went back?
He's a left back, Gutman.
I think so. I think it was work permit was the reason.
Because he's 20. He's no younger. He's 22 or something. 23.
Aye.
The
I
thing
don't know
is,
if they just bought them to stop Rangers because they would have got a work permit.
We've got that.
You know,
It's great that Beckenbauer, Beaton, has been likened to Beckenbauer today, because
Beaton Beckenbauer.
I can roll out this story again, that when Celtic were scouting Jack Hendry, the aforementioned Jack Hendry, who's been loaned out, the reports back were that he was playing like Beckenbauer. And I know who the scout was as
Are
well.
you serious?
I'm
You
telling
scouted
you.
him?
Yes.
I didn't think they'd scouted him.
Oh, they scouted him. They scouted him.
Pick numbers out of that.
Beckenbauer-like performances by Jack.
But he'd been at Celtic before when he was a boy, hadn't he?
He did, before Wigan, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Celtic Rab, welcome back. I know you've been listening to the podcast for a long time. Hope all is well. Encham controlled the game. He did.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he was brilliant.
Do you think Celtic defenders get it harder, with the amount of abuse they get in the media, any mistakes highlighted? And, football's a lot about confidence. If I live in here, whereas if you play for another team,
It's similar to goalkeepers with Celtic defenders, because they don't have that much to do. There's not that much pressure on them, and when they do make a mistake, it highlights.
And then the press jump right on it, don't they? It's,
Yeah.
you remember like bomb scare or something. A number of Celtic defenders
Julian
called bomb
gets
scare, but I don't
slaughtered.
remember the other side of the side.
Julian gets slaughtered after Kilmarnock. I think it was a wee bit.
We
it
get
was played
slaughtered
poorly,
again.
but
What about last season? They slaughtered him in the press. Oh, he's terrible, never a £7 million player. He's easily the best defender in Scotland. you're kind of going.
But said that about Van Dijk as well.
Yep.
He wasn't a player, never survived in English Premiership, not a player.
Yep.
Ryer's too small.
Just,
What's he went?
And you were watching Van Dijk week in, week out, and he was strolling it.
Oh,
And he was getting better and better. And it was there was several games that the only thing that concerned me, it was too easy for him.
What about Benkovic? Is he still at Bristol
Still-
City, so he's gone back to Leicester?
I still like
I would take
Benkovic.
him in a heartbeat.
Yeah. And again, his transfer value will have
Left hand side
diminished.
centre back.
Yeah.
Take him in a heartbeat. He seems to be.
we know who he is. He's an own quantity. But we've got. I think Julian's been a good buy. Van Dijk was a good buy. We must have someone there that can.
We're at that stage where we don't want to deal with Leicester in case they try to buy McGregor.
Aye, I will give you him for.
Aye. They might try and deal with
Leverage.
McGregor. Yeah.
There was a young boy came through. Was it Welsh? Played centre half.
He did. He got a game last year, didn't
And
he?
he didn't look out of place, did he?
That's right. Aye.
So I don't know how good he is. Well, there's no reserves to see, and we don't see the boys football much. But when he played, you thought, "A boy looks all right." He's always finding a Celtic jersey with the ball.
Well, he was recalled, wasn't he, from Morton? Due
Yep.
to the fact that we
That's
needed
right.
cover and his performances were good. But Chris Boyd doesn't look too chuffed. I'd just like to throw that one out there.
Maybe they ran out of Monster Munch or something.
Gary Doonan, Beaton man of the match. Gary thinks that Beaton was man of the match. He was steady.
To do. They were steady. Aye.
He was steady. Kirk Paul Jandu via YouTube. Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink was the man who scored late and won us a title last time we played United, I think. I think the last time we played United at Tannery, so it was 4-1. Somebody mentioned it the other day. And it was maybe the game where Chris Cummins scored that scissor kick
All right. Yeah.
4 years ago. Great away win with Ayeti scoring, absolutely. I think there's going to be a lot of tough away games where we pointed out a few times, Dundee United had 11 men behind the ball. That's tough to break down no matter how much quality you've got up top, and we do have quality up there. So Celtic Rab, hopefully you've enjoyed today's broadcast. We'll be running for another 10 minutes or so. Keep the points coming in. Barca boy, I really think Luke O'Connell could be that creative player we need to unlock deep, tight sides. I think it's a good shout, and I think it would be good to have him on the bench. But Frimpong's that type of player as well, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely when we push him further forward and take away his defensive duties. Yeah. You're not surprised to see him beat two men, are you? With Frimpong.
And coming in from Twitter, we have Django Boz. Django Boz.
The Django.
I know who that is. I know this guy. I don't know if he wants me to name him, but I hope you're doing well, Dino. What's your thoughts on Dallas' performance? Nice to see you, Paul. I thought it was an abysmal performance by the referee. I thought it was absolutely shocking. And if I was to give him a mark out of 10, it would be just 1 for turning up. I thought it was shocking.
But was it unexpected?
No.
That's his kind of level of performance week in, week out, isn't it?
getting with it.
It was abysmal.
I don't always think it's just with Celtic. When you watch other games of refs, you're just going, how's that boy a ref?
Yeah.
Or refing in the top division.
We know why he's a ref.
It's kind of...
The thing is, Lawrence, right, you can call somebody incompetent. You can call somebody incompetent if they lack competence in their job. But see when there's a foul in front of you, 5 yards in front of you, and you can clearly see it, and he lets it go or he doesn't book the player, that's beyond incompetence for me.
That's you think assistant referees are just bystanders as well.
I know.
But he'll have given him instructions before the game, he's assistant ref. So only who went, I'm making decisions or big
I'm
decisions.
a match goalkeeper.
Benjamin Siegrist. To be fair, he did well, but Paul, you made a good point about him. He was actually poor at the goal.
5 or 6 worldies, and then
Yeah.
I'd like to see that shot come again, how much it's curling, if you know what I mean, because if it curled at the
too
end,
much of a hand on it.
you get enough power on it, you just needed different direction, wasn't it? Aye.
I think they need to get a goalie top that's going to fit him though. He's got like kind of 3/4 arm length there,
Who made that? Was it Custodian?
Michael Harvey, happy days. Dundee United goalie was really good. Yeah, he was. He looked excellent, and he looks like a big unit. Seeing him getting interviewed with his man of the match at the end of the game. Jason Christie, why doesn't Lennon go with a 3-5-2? Tried and tested and successful. I think it's a good option to flip back and forward. It showed it there. You can actually change a game. You can change the rhythm of a game by changing the formation.
I think he will go with it once the Ajetti's up to speed. Or, he's £5 million quid player. He's got to be starting, isn't he?
There's a good question, a Scotsman in Asia, again via YouTube. Thanks for your contribution. Who should start up front against Motherwell? And it's a good question in that Ayetis came on and made an instant impact. Won us the game today. But Edouard worked tirelessly throughout the game. So
3-5-2.
3-5-2 again. Lennon really preferred that last season.
Yeah.
Towards the second half of the season after the Ibrox debacle. So I think if he wants to go with that again, now he's happy he's got 2 strikers that he can rely on. I think that's the way he might go.
Especially if Duffy comes in.
Yeah.
That allows you to do, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Then you've got Frimpong, El Hamid and Aya kind of going.
after that the Rangers debacle that you're mentioning there, honestly, after that game, I went vegetarian. That's what I did. I went vegetarian. I've never eaten meat since. Put me off. That game put me off. And I've never returned to it because if we keep winning, I'm happy with that, Paul. But that's how I reacted to that defeat. Who should start up front? I think we should start with 2 up front and go with Ajeti and Edouard.
Yeah.
Try and build that partnership. Red Scotland, results like that wins titles. You're absolutely right. That is the kind of game. I don't even feel that we ground it out. I just think that we continued in our own. We kept our own house in order, if you like, and eventually we breached it.
There was no panic, was there?
No, I don't think it was
keep doing
panic.
what you're doing. You knew the goal was coming.
Gary Doonan, it's amazing what a last 10-minute away winner can do to the mood. You're right, we're all really chuffed in here.
Well, depends.
If that was a 9-8 draw day, we would have needed a brand new team with Law 1 Forest getting it in the neck first. Aye, and it would have been Lennon out.
Could have been a dark drive back to Glasgow.
Indeed, yeah.
Our podcasts all week would have been doom and gloom. We need to sack half the team. We try not to react like that, but no, you're absolutely right, Gary. It's incredible. Big smiling face for Neil Lennon. Well done to Lenny. Francie W. I'll take close, ugly wins all season. I'll probably look 20 years old, but at least I'll be over the moon. 20 years older, I think he means. 10 in a row. No, I absolutely get that, Francie. I think that you've got to win ugly sometimes. And to be fair, we didn't really win ugly. We just stuck to our game plan, didn't we?
Get down, plugging away at it.
Break
it down, change the system.
Yeah, 3-5-2, which made a difference.
If you had a different keeper in, you could have been looking at 4-5, couldn't you?
It could have been.
And we do have to, because again, I'm not bringing up Bolly again. We spoke about him for about a fortnight, but we're 2 games behind as a result of his misdemeanours. So if you're dropping points, it makes it even harder, doesn't it? Because you're 2 games back. So you've got to go up there, and if it's a 1-0 and it's 10 minutes for the end or a minute for the end, then so be it. Quite happy to win the league.
United will be top 6 in that performance, I reckon.
How impressed were you with the performance of United?
Decent at the start, as you said, they seemed to tire a bit and they get deeper and deeper, but first half they had a bit of a go, they had a good shape about them, so I think they'll do okay.
They seem to get behind the goalkeeper as well. When the goalkeepers, when they're under pressure, we'll see 1 or 2 drop onto the line, so they seem to get back. And a couple of times, the goal we got put the ball through 3 of them on the line, so they seem to be determined not to lose a goal.
Paul, I think this one's for you. Dave Ross, YouTube, the dynamic duo, Des and Paul. Was Paul on time? You got previous for being late? No, you were bang on. You even had time to go and get us milk and everything, so no, you were bang on. Brilliant.
My dad was here.
Good man, Dave.
Was your dad keeping you in line then? Would you definitely been late for you?
I would have been late, I would have been turning up now.
Kirpal Jandu, give credit when due. Neil Lennon changed to 3-5-2, it's the way forward. 4-4-2 anyone, 10 in a row. There's a lot of talk about the the formation, and we do get people in here who are involved in football, and their take on it is it's got to be fluid. You can't be fast and rigid. You might start off a game at 4-4-2 or 3-5-2, but it's all about just changing and adapting, I guess.
That's what Delia was all about, getting them to be able to play a number of different positions in one game. A lot of senior pros were like, "Oh, what are you doing to see me rebel against them?" But if you remember that game against Inter Milan, you had him, you were like, "Oh, this is good," you know what I mean?
That's right.
It just seemed to all click for the team. You were like, "Yeah, we could watch this."
David Mark Murphy, you're commenting via YouTube. Do you think there's anything in the rumours of signing Jose Antonio from Brazil? Well, all I would say to that, David, and I'm not knocking that, but I think we've had 2 Brazilians playing for Celtic.
Gino, Rafael.
Yes, and both of them failed to.
Did Steve not to trial?
Gino's first game was
Did.
against
Rangers.
Rangers.
Yeah, played, I think that was
He
his
done
best
well,
game.
His best game.
His best game.
Great.
But he played in his more natural position then. I don't think he was a Martin O'Neill.
Martin O'Neill wasn't a
type player.
Juninho.
But why did we ask Rivaldo to go and trial?
Remember
You're
that?
like, "Oh,
Yeah.
same
That's
season.
right, that's right.
We asked
Yeah,
Rivaldo to go and trial. You're like, wait a minute here.
No, you're right in what you say, actually, Lawrence. Jockstein tried to sign 4 Brazilians. He had 3 of them came over and trialled. The other one, there was issues with getting them over. But they played a reserve game against Motherwell, and it bumped the crowd up to 13,000, I think, for the reserve game. And that was the night that Jimmy Johnson was playing for the reserves. So you're talking 1965.
Right.
And at half-time, Jockstein was at the toilet area having a leak, and he's standing next to Jimmy Johnson. He says, "Why on earth are you playing for the reserves, wee man?" So he went to the game to look at the 2 Brazilians, but he's seen Jimmy Johnson in action. 2 weeks later, he's in the first team.
Was that right?
So the Brazilians, that was that night, but we got Jinky out of that.
So it's just been
good to
confirmed.
read
Jinky's better than Brazilians. But
Yeah.
I think we all knew that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the comment was something like, "Listen, I wouldn't need to be buying Brazilians if you played like that for my first team." And then before you know it, 2 or 3 weeks later, he's in the first team. Famously left out of the Scottish Cup final. But he done all right, wee Jinky. He done all right. But yeah, I don't know if there's any rumours, to be fair. I think we're going to be linked to a lot of players between now and when the transfer window closes. Is it October?
October, yeah.
So we're going to...
Shut.
Yeah, slam
We're waiting
shut.
for some big loan deals from England once they announce their squads. I think.
When's the league starting?
Don't know. They can be far away now, can they?
It'll be good fun, actually, on the night of the transfer window, because we can do it from in here. We could all get
Yellow
suited
ties
and
on.
booted. We could have the
Yellow
yellow
ties
ties on,
on.
We could do it in here. That would be good. That'd be good. Out there, if anybody wants to get involved, let us know. Francie W makes a very good point, because I think I've been moaning about the ref most of the day, but I don't usually speak of referees, says Francie. But performances like that could threaten our path to 10. He should be dropped for next week by his association.
This is the same ref someone at Ibrox didn't give the penalty. It was clearly in the box. This season already, and many games are we in. You're talking about 2 absolute shockers from you. I think Francis is right. Not just in this performance, but you look at season, what
Across the
4 or 5
board,
games, and
yep.
he's had 2 shockers. How does he remain a top flight ref?
I know. I think, people will deny it and they'll say it's human error and it's honest mistakes and various other things. But you watch a performance like that, and hopefully Neil Lennon's mentioning that in his post-match interview. That was a dreadful performance by the referee.
Yeah.
Shocking.
But even if it's human error and it's mistakes, well, somebody makes that many mistakes isn't a top flight ref. You've got to call in and go.
You're right, Lawrence. Then it's a competence issue, isn't it?
You've got to look at association and go, well, if he's making that many mistakes, 2 bad games out of 5.
Yeah.
Well, today we've been online for several hours covering the game against Dundee United. I think we're all delighted that a Yeti was able to get his first goal in the green and white hoops. It's been a pleasure today to be joined by our Matchday sponsors, JBM Scotland. So thanks very much for coming through, guys. It's been excellent to have you involved, and you're welcome back anytime you want.
We're back soon.
All the contact details for JBM Scotland are at the top of your page, and the web address is along the ticker, so get in touch if you need the guys to do any of your work. If you want to sponsor the match day or the bulletin, just to let you know, we are now going out to 250,000 of an audience on a monthly basis, so we can give you the coverage. Get in touch with us. Thank you all for joining us on YouTube, Facebook and also Twitter, and a massive thanks to our guests, including my right hand man here, Lawrence Connolly. So thank you all for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.